Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the Creator Series. It is round 11 of 12 here at the Creator Series, the penultimate round, you may say, and we are around the JEDDAH Corniche circuit. I'm your presenter, Alex Heron, and I will be guiding you through today's action. But of course, I am not alone. As always, I am joined by a multiple plethora of casting here today, and I will introduce them one at a time. And our first one, who will be doing a background work here today, is the man who won last week's Grand Prix, a one-time winner in the Creator Series. It's Mr. Carl, and he has not stopped talking about it before we started streaming. So, Carl, how you doing, man? How's it feeling to be a race winner?
It still feels great, to be honest with you. I think we're slightly embellishing the amount that I might have explained the victory, but we'll gloss over that. It was good fun. I was very grateful for the opportunity. It's good to be back in the commentary pen, though, and it's good to be alongside you and the two commentators, which will be revealed soon. But the old guard is back, normal service is resumed, and there's potential for the championship to be wrapped up today.
There certainly is. Now, I don't believe Mr. Gillen, who has been obviously away for a couple of weekends, apparently doing something important. I'm not sure what it was, but I'm sure he's explained it somewhere. But we do have a championship standings at the moment, so we will go over and have a look at that. As our lovely producer sorts it out for us. And as you can see here, Mr. Gillen is still top of the standings on 182 points, but just behind him is a GB68 on 159. The gap to the top is 23 points, and there's a maximum of 64 points up for grabs. Razan Shai is not out of it yet, and neither, I believe, is Kareem the Dream. So, Carl, it's all to play for still, but there is that still massive gap at the top.
There absolutely is. I mean, it's credit to Gillen's consistency all the way through the season, particularly in the first half of things. 3 wins in a row. He looked imperious at the start. It looked like simply no one could move him off of that fixture off first place. But gradually, momentum has shifted. GB, his closest challenger, with by far the best shout of anybody. Still Razin, Kareem, Kai, and Meraki's just got a chance. Admittedly, a bit complicated and quite difficult to try and achieve ultimate victory. But regardless, what can you do? It was a good result for Meraki, of course, last time as well. Guarded up second place in Imola. So close to another win for him. But you never know. Close. With Saudi Arabia, could be interesting.
And of course, it's Saudi Arabia, but it's a exciting wildcard this weekend. Ladies and gentlemen, it is 50-50 wings for today's Grand Prix. We have a quick look at the team standings as well, with only 5 points separating the top 2. Now, that is a lot closer of a championship fight, with Red Bull and Aston Martin and Ferrari all in it. So constructors standing wise, it's all to play for.
Oh, of course, Ferrari really pulled their weight last week. Highest scoring team of anybody with 34 total points garnered. So credit to Infratic and Meraki for all of their hard work. But it's just 15 points separating the top 5. You've got scores to settle between Mercedes and Haas. The constructors clash, I'd argue, is even more tantalising. That's the thing to focus on here.
And it certainly will be going into Saudi Arabia. But of course, we may have myself and Carl looking after the background image of the Creator Series today. But who are looking after the front image of Creator Series? Well, I'll tell you right now. We've got Mr. Daniel Gilligan and Mr. Tom joining us in the commentary booth. Daniel, we'll start with you. It looks like we've already got some sort of accident in the background there. But what are your thoughts going into this weekend? Of course, penultimate weekend in the Creator Series and all to play for in the championship.
Well, what am I thinking? Thinking, first of all, what a lovely day it is, and that we could all come into this latest round of the Creator Series without any controversy, without any drama in any way, shape, or form. It's a wonderful time, frankly, to be alive and working in Creator Series. Second thing, I think that for today, there's going to be a few Mick Schumachers about. There's going to be quite a lot of crashes, quite a lot of bits and pieces going on and flying off of cars, which in turn could maybe end up competitive order, because of course 50-50 wings here today. If you break and damage a wing when it's at 50 level as opposed to 0, you're going to feel that a lot more than usual.
Yeah, you certainly are, and hopefully, unlike Daniel's internet there, no one else will have that sort of crash. But Tom Wilkinson, what is your thoughts going into this Grand Prix? Of course, one of our people in the commentary booth did win last week, not racing this weekend, so can't lose that chance of being defeated 1 week in a row. But what's your thoughts, Tom? Are we just going to see Gillen come back and just own it like he normally does, or have you got a little bit of a dark horse pick?
It's difficult to say. Obviously, none of the top 4 on the standings scored points a week ago. The top 3, Raz and Alex and GB, were all absent, and then Kareem crashing on lap 1. Not quite sure what happened there. Maybe Carl can tell us a little bit about what happened on the opening lap. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how involved they get back in. Alex Gillon will obviously be feeling the pressure. His lead has been whittled down over the last few. But his last appearance was that win in Monza, so he comes in really good form. I'd be surprised if Alex makes a bit of a blunder this week, even though I think he has only just got back, so maybe slightly underprepared.
Yeah, maybe slightly underprepared, but with Mr. Gillen, it is never impossible for him to pick up a big win. So we have a quick look at last week's result, just to remind ourselves of that, probably just for Carl's sake, because he probably can't remember. But here we go. There was Carl, did win by about 4/10 of a second from Meraki, and then we had Formula Kai, M-Sky Z, Infratic, Ricky, Gwatz, Lottie Noba, Grid Jokes, and Hayden Gullis rounding out your top 10, and having those 3 DNFs of Scott Taylor, Safso, and Kareem, with points going to the cleanest driver, of course, Mr. Hayden Gillis, as we always expect. But before we get into the Grand Prix and I hand over to our lovely commentators, Mr. Daniel and Tom, we'll have a quick look at the track guide this afternoon, commentated by our very own Matt212.
Hello everyone and welcome back to this week's Creators Series track guide powered by Sim Racing Setups. We're here at the JEDDAH Corniche, one of the longest circuits on the F1 calendar, but with close barriers you've got to be very, very careful. Braking at the 100 meter board, ready for turn 1, you want to take third gear, a lot of curb, both through the entry and the exit. Braking once again at the 50 meter board, ready for the S's of Sector 1. Completely flat as we wind our way through the lefts and rights until you get to the very last right-hander. A small blend off the throttle to make sure you get the weight over the front end, and then you're going to be flat out into Sector 2. The banking of turn 12 up next, braking at the 50 meter board, all the way down to 4th gear on the entry. Carry the speed and get as close to the wall on the exit as you possibly can for your best run out onto the next short straight there. Once again, trying to weave through the rights and the lefts, a quick flick through the right, and then get on the throttle nice and early again for the left-hander as we make our way out onto the back straight that isn't really a straight. Open up the DRS then as you prepare yourself for what I think is the toughest corner on the entire lap. 50 meter board, down 2 gears, flick the car through the left, carry the speed through the right-hander once again, and try to take the line of least resistance as you prepare yourself for the very last corner of the lap. 26 down, 1 more to go. Bring the car to the right-hand side, on the brakes, 60 metres out. From 8th gear, you want to get all the way down to 3rd. Try to take a late apex, get the car nice and straight on the exit, and then flat out once again as you make your way back towards the line. That's going to be a lap of the JEDDAH Corniche.
We are back. Thank you very much for that lovely lap there from Matt212. Actually, I don't think he did the lap, but he definitely commentated it. Probably someone like, a race winner probably got that lap on. We don't know any, unfortunately. But we'll go to Daniel quickly. Daniel, of course, you mentioned last week was a fantastic Grand Prix. But Saudi Arabia is a very different circuit to what we just saw. And with that 50-50 wings, it could be carnage.
It could well be. Heading into this one, drivers were saying that they were going to be running, it's going to be, if it's Jeddah, and, we definitely didn't have anything spoiled by the social media team. And so in terms of all of that, we then obviously, purely speculating on the fact that it might be Jeddah this weekend. There was some conversation about running wings of, 0, 5, 10 at a maximum, things like that. So this is going to be very, very different to how they would have ever driven this track before. And certainly for those that were practicing earlier on as well, all the various shouts, screams and commotions really kind of back that up. There's not really a huge amount of braking required anymore. Now just lifting off of the throttle, letting the aero and the engine braking do its thing is pretty much enough for most corners. So it's going to be interesting, particularly in the race conditions, because I think in quali, we're basically just going to see people on low fuel, bang in a nice quick lap. It's going to be all very entertaining. But in the race, we could end up having something like a Formula E or a Peloton style race where people don't necessarily want to be at the front because you're going to burn more fuel.
It burn more fuel, and of course, on a track that's so tight and narrow, and of course, with this year's F1 game, the tyre wear is insane. We've said this a lot. And Tom, are you expecting to see a lot of pit stops here, or do you think that extra downforce that they're going to have on their car might help their tyre wear out?
I would go the other way, because I think there's a potential, because we don't normally see this kind of wing run at a track like Saudi Arabia. There is a possibility that the speeds that they can carry through that first sector in particular are slightly too high for the tyres. So those front tyres in particular, if they're on the softs, maybe in qualifying, they're going to have to manage the temperatures a little bit. They could start to skyrocket with the cornering speeds that a lot of our drivers could be taking through those twists and the curves through the first sector. So that could definitely cause the tyres to start to explode a little bit more, maybe give us a few more opportunities for the strategy-wise. But I don't think we're going to see DRS training as we normally would, because obviously without the DRS they're going to be slow as a boat in a straight line. But once those flaps open, I think we could be seeing people rocket past quite comfortably.
Yeah, and they'll be using a lot of their ERS down those straights. And then just coming to you, Carl, as well. Of course, you'll be on Clipbook this weekend. It's this weekend. No, it is weekend. I'm going insane. This weekend, it's going to be a very tricky one for you, because you're going to have so much action going on. Is there anyone that can help you out with this, Carl? Maybe if we were streaming, maybe they could help you out with some sort of clips.
Honestly, my blood pressure's boiling over already. It's going to be an evening for the ages, but it'll be interesting. I think qualifying is going to be very interesting. I think the race as well, because everyone's on that same aerodynamic plane. They can't gain an advantage. Like Dan said earlier, they can't do 10.5, 9.5, whatever wings they want to run. They have to be on that same level pegging. And it's going to be interesting as well, like Tom says, with the tyre wear, because the counterbalance is, instead of using the car to turn more because you have less downforce, the car can turn more, you can carry more speed, but the tyres will simply just erode even quicker. So all very interesting acts of balance that they have got to think about. Their first step, though, is to quench their insatiable hunger for pole position.
They certainly will be getting on to that in just a second. So I'm going to hand over to our lovely commentary team of Daniel and Tom to take us through this qualifying session. Good luck, chaps. I'm sure it's going to be one for the ages.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Alex. And yes, everybody, welcome to F1 Creator Series, to the penultimate round of the season. My name is Daniel Gilligan. Alongside me is the wonderful, the joyous Tom Wilkinson, who is, of course, clearly the greatest Tom that we have in the box at the moment, and so on. We have now got a horrible word in my ear from the director. But yes, in terms of all of this then, Tom, we've just loaded into the session. We've just got the shining lights rather than the shining sun over Saudi Arabia. And going into this one, obviously, you know, as we discussed in the pre-show a little bit there, usually it's going to be a case of low wings and everything else. Now, with it being such an anomalous state of affairs here today, do you think there's going to be any particular drivers that this 50-50 wing scenario might suit more than others?
I think that's hard to say, because we don't know necessarily who likes to run what from a setup perspective, and a lot of drivers do typically run fairly similar wings. It's just normally in the differentials and in the suspension that they play around a little bit to try and tweak their own needs. So I think it'll actually be a really nice leveler in some circumstances. It'll be interesting to see how quickly people can adapt in qualifying, because like we said in the build-up, they're not going to be used to the kind of speeds that they can take through these corners, in particular the first sector, with the amount of downforce they've got. And conversely as well, they're going to be getting to the end of the straight, for example, going into the final corner going, I'm only at about 180 miles an hour. They might even be a little bit slower than that. We'll have to wait and see. And they're going to be crawling. They're going to be trying to swim their way down the straight, just try and get even a little bit more straight line speed out of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yes, indeed. Now, I should point out that FX Bradbomb in the chat saying, good thing Daniel isn't in the car anymore. Well, you never know. I have one of these. Anything could happen between now and the end of the race. But yes, in terms of who is in the car, though, we can see, of course, that the fantastic, beautiful man that is Safso is on your screens right at this very moment in time, on an outlap, and will be the first driver to complete an outlap, barring any unforeseen circumstances towards the end of the lap here. And Safso currently reserving for Scott Taylor. So Scott Taylor not taking part in this one here today. Safso jumps into the Sauber as a result, and so he's going to be our first one out there. Now, Safso has had quite a few reserve appointments over the course of this season. Of course, he'd been full-time driver for every previous season to that, and it's been a lovely thing, I think, to see him back to streaming somewhat regularly as well. Have you been catching any Safso streams recently, Tom?
They have been good. Obviously, former champion, inaugural Creator Series champion, not featuring as much this season or in the past few seasons, like you said, but he's appeared, 5 times so far this season. Had a stinker last week in Imola, it has to be said, alongside Kareem 70, was one of the 2 retirees on the opening lap, caused up by a couple of massive pile-ups. Classic vintage Creator Series opening lap pile-ups that we saw. But what I would say about Safso is, even though he hasn't necessarily bagged too many points in the reserve races he's gone through, I was about to say his performance levels have been fairly high, but clearly struggling with those intermediates through the first sector and getting a little bit loosey-goosey already, so maybe not the best of omens for him.
Possibly not. And of course, with the restriction in terms of time that you have available to complete your Inter's championship run, might well be that now, as we see that flashing red light on the back of Safso's car, this is now going to be a case of regenerating energy over the course of this lap and then go for another push on the next lap. Now, whether or not he's able to then accomplish it, that's, of course, a different question altogether. But let's wait and see for that one. Elsewhere in the field, we've got other drivers who have made their way out onto circuit. You can see there on the timing tower, you've got Formula Kai, there's Super Noodle Bagel, there's that guy Vince, there's Guatz, and there's Lolinoba, Razanchai, and Fratic. They're all out there on their timed laps currently. And then you've got outlaps for various other drivers. One driver who's not left the pits just yet, that is Alex Gillen, down in 18th position. Lord Gillen, as he is described in our director's nicknames on Steam this weekend, it seems.
He had an upgrade, hasn't he? The recently married man. And here is his counterpart, Alex Gollan. If you can't work out who that is, of course Tim Mod, returning after a couple of weeks out, and he'll be looking to try and get back into the frame, back of the sharp end. Interesting one with Ben, as Infratic takes over from Lolonova at the sharp end on the intermediate runs. Ben has won in all of the first 9 seasons of the F1 Creator Series. He's now only got a couple of weeks to keep that streak going of winning in every single Creator Series season. He's the only person that's done it so far, but he could be losing that record because his pace this season hasn't been great, hasn't been vintage here at Mark. Only a couple of podiums to his name, staying 7th in the standings.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, it's one of those legacies that hangs around for a long, long time. Every season you take part, there's that greater risk that it all falls away, but everybody's got to lose sometime. And, you look to real-life Formula One, the closest example, really, of a driver who's been in a similar position to Ben now with his record under threat, as that guy Vince re-enters the pits without setting a time on those inters, as is the case for quite a few drivers now. Super Noodle Bagel coming back in. There was another car behind them, I'm fairly certain as well. Though this Red Bull of Guatz is going to come across the line to finish a lap, and they go up to 2nd place just behind Fabio in the Ferrari. But yes, Lewis Hamilton, of course, won in every single Formula One season up to 2022, and then has failed to stand on the top step of the rostrum for that year and 2023. Before then, 24, he returned to the top step. This year, it's perhaps a bit unlikely, given the form of the Ferrari and the form of Lewis, in fact, in that particular car. So is Ben in quite the same situation? In some ways. In other ways, not. Of course, he's got a much more level playing field here, so there's much more likelihood he'd be able to stick a good result up there on the board. But of course, he's only got this round and one more to get that done.
Because he won't count the sprint win next week either. Mystery Grand Prix, final weekend of Season X. Sprint starting off before the main race. We haven't got too long to go left of the intermediate pole runs. If you are new, first of all, where have you been? That is a poor effort from yourself. But the driver that sets the fastest time in the opening 6 minutes of qualifying on the green stripe Inters will pick up an extra bonus point to add to the tally. It's currently held by our reigning champion Cream 7T by just over a tenth ahead of GB 68. But unfortunately, we've got a yellow flag symbol up in the top left of the screen, so we can't see how long is left in the session. Tuki coming around the final corner, but this has not been a competitive lap one. Job will return to the pit lane, leaving Riccio 3 and Scotty Designs as the only 2 drivers that have set a time on the softs leading the field.
Absolutely, yeah. And you can see his lap times. Of course, we're not a million miles away from some of the times that the creators had been discussing earlier on when they'd first become aware of the track and of the wild card. There was immediately people talking about being in the 28. So we're already in the right sort of ballpark for the beginning of the qualifying session. But of course, as drivers become more comfortable with the cars in this configuration around this circuit, as we start to see more rubber being laid down, we should see those times start to tumble. But it's, of course, going to be a far cry from what we might be used to seeing around this particular JEDDAH Corniche circuit.
100%. We're hearing as well from our man on the ground, Carl Baranek, that Alex Gillen, the reason why he stayed in the pit lane is he's doing a lot of tweaking for his setup. Obviously, he hasn't had any time to prepare because he got into his house at about 6 o'clock sharp. We only started about 8 minutes later. So just trying to fiddle around with the setup. The championship leader has now emerged in his Papaya McLaren car. His teammate on an outlap tucked underneath the rear wing of the Aston Martin in front. I believe that is Datka Vince and is. So it'll be interesting to see what Super Noodle Bayou can do. McLaren obviously in an intense constructors battle as well, reigning constructors champions last season it was Formula Cream as he was then, and Nick Fly's still there but has been absent the last couple of weeks. Now Alex Gillen obviously returning to try and pick up a double world championship.
Absolutely. Only Benjamin Daly has secured more than one title in F1 Creator Series over the seasons, and so we will wait and see as to whether or not he's joined by someone else, or could it be a brand new champion? To remind you of the championship permutations this weekend, we do have several drivers all still within the hunt. Now, there are some of those who have, in fact, won the title before. Razin Chai, Karim70, and Meraki, all capable of winning the title again mathematically. Whether or not that then comes to pass, that is a different question altogether. In terms of that, then, the driver who is most likely to take the championship is GB68. He has only 23 points of a gap to Alex Gillen. So a win for GB and a DNF for Alex, or a non-score, would see GB take the lead by 2 points going into the final round. Any bonus points to one side, of course. But as it is then, there is also one other driver who could potentially take the title if they have, again, another couple of exceedingly good results in these last few rounds, and that's Formula Kai. They're 54 points behind as we go into the back end of this season. Speaking of back ends, we're now starting to approach the back end of the lap here with Super Noodle Bagel, and anyone else who thought I was going to say something else, shame on you. Get your head out of the gutter. He comes now round the last few corners here into the final DRS zone, up towards that final turn here at the JEDDAH Corniche circuit, and we cut away from him because of course we do. What's the good in seeing the end of one driver's lap when we can see another here? Super Noodle Bagel back over to him now, and up to the line through that final turn. A little bit of flashing red light at the back of that McLaren, so running out of deployment there, and across the line he goes. New fastest lap of all, 128.6, just ahead of Sasso and Ricky 03.
Right at the top, isn't it? Top three covered by just over a tenth of a second. Scotty Designs a few tenths further back. Cream 70 does indeed pick up the extra point for intermediate pole, so the reigning champion moving one solitary step closer to Alex Gillen at the top of the timing charts. More than halfway through the session now as Tukey negotiating the first set. Made a bit of a blunder earlier on as M Sky Z now lowers the benchmark by a further 3 tenths, 28.3, getting ever closer to those 1 minute 27s, which we should be seeing come the end of qualifying, or maybe even from the first laps for some of our big names.
And radio then from GB. My God, Hayden Gullis, what are you doing? That's how I imagine it was said. I don't think he was saying, oh my God, Hayden Gullis, what are you doing? So there we are then. Clearly, there has been some unhappy rumblings there between those two particular drivers. Hayden on his outlap, no time on the board just yet. GB middle of the pack now, and someone just jumping straight up his inside there. That's one of the Red Bulls. That's either going to be Guats or Karim. It's not Karim, so it must have been Guats. And is that Guats then finishing out his lap, or just trying to get the jump on GB, as GB was clearly doing that wide, longer line in the final turn to set up for something? We will wait and see. Of course, it looks to me as though maybe Guats has just decided to jump the queue, violate the gentleman's agreement that exists between racing drivers on a Formula One circuit usually. There you can see GB in all of his green glory, in his Aston Martin t-shirt, of course, in his office at home. And I tell you what then, as one of the drivers who could take this championship, of the two most likely, you would say, based on points alone, GB's not going to necessarily be too happy with the fact that the Red Bull there has jumped in front of him on a qualifying lap where he currently sits middle of the table.
Yeah, I think that's an understatement. Quartz being a little bit cheeky there, saw that GB was trying to make up some space, and he said, well, I'll help myself here to a little bit of track position between the two Aston Martin cars. And GB, for the majority of the lap, is going to get a face full of dirt here, but the trade-off is he's going to get a lovely slipstream in the final part of this lap. Lolanoba, meanwhile, a couple of moments ago, taking over at the top of the timing charts, 28.2 for a race winner from a couple of weeks ago. GB's going to get a lovely slipstream again. Sure, he's going to file past the Red Bull racing car. We've got racing on a qualifying lap, everybody, and now Quartz is going to have the dirty air card thrown into his face down to the final corner. GB getting through, but both of their laps very much compromised by that.
Yep, you would assume so. And as they come out the final turn then, up towards the line, it's one Aston, then the next, and it's that second one we look to the top of the timesheets by a big old margin. GB68 with a 127.9. That is a very good lap compared to what we've seen so far from everybody else. Could it be that actually, sitting all that lap behind Guats, he's been able to get a very nice little bit of slipstream there?
You'd think so. The slipstream we think is going to be very powerful. Obviously, the DRS is going to be powerful as well. His teammate Dakar Event slotting into P8 ahead, interestingly, of Alex Gillen, whose first run in this session, not competitive one bit. It's not often we see Alex Gillen behind his teammate. He's a few places behind Super Noodle Bagels. Razin Chai up into P4, returning, of course, the Season 5 champion at the venue where he picked up that championship. And we heard that Safsa wasn't particularly pleased with Hayden Gullis, and he's missing his front wing there. So something's clearly gone on. Hayden once again having one of his adventures, technically leading a championship as it's positions gained. That's because you start last every race, Hayden.
Yes, indeed. Leading the positions gained. Also, I believe, leading the cleanest driver award as well. But with taking your front wing off, I have a sneaky suspicion you might not be getting cleanest driver if you continue that sort of action in the race itself.
Tim Marlett, by the way, up into second place. Didn't spot it, but 28.1 competitive lap time from the two-time Creator Series champion. Just a couple of tenths down on the benchmark set by GB. 15 wins, hasn't added any this season so far. Could this be the one? He was ever so close in Spa a few weeks ago, but just getting caught out on the last lap when he came home in second position. Also finished second in the season opener at Spain with a nice little battle between himself and Alex Gillen. Alex Gollan, as he's called himself this week, starting off strongly.
Yes, and we can confirm that in the particular case of Alex Gollan, that is not the nickname that our producer has for this driver on Steam. That is entirely of their own making as they jump out the way of the Ferrari there on an outlap, you would assume, because if you take those sorts of lines, you're not going to be setting any valid laps anytime soon. So there we are then. We jump now to the other Mercedes car, the other Silver Arrow in this season, and it is, of course, the man, the myth, the legend, Adam Sanderson. Adam, of course, owner of Formula 71. Fantastic little league that he hosts on a Tuesday, where you got things like Formula 2 cars, you got realistic performances. He's racing on a new wheel today, and it has a screen so he can see when he gets wing damage. So there we go then. That's a handy dandy little bit of information there about Adam. It's very strange to look at him without a beard as well. I feel like I just have to bring that up, but there we are. He heads his way through. This will be his first time lap on the soft tyre. That will be valid, at least, if he has emerged out into the circuit on the softs prior to this point. And that being said, up in the top left there says it's only his second lap, so there we go. Guat's radio, that's unreal. Completely flat through there. Turns 4 to turns 12. So this is the thing. With the big high wings, some would say, well, it's less challenging, is less to go on there. But in reality, what you find is that for these drivers, you've now got to decide, okay, how much do I push? How much can I be flat out through all of these corners? Because, of course, the moment you get it wrong, you become Mick Schumacher.
Nearly end up upside down. Here's Adam Sanderson, potentially for his one and only lap in the session, up to P13, 28.8 for the second Mercedes car. Alex Gillen's also gone again, improved a little bit up to 7th place, but the championship leader definitely up against it at the moment. Safso 0.4 of a second down through sectors 1 and 2, and surely will be returned to the pits, but it strikes again. The Safso internet connection fails him once more, and with 2.5 minutes to go, Safso leaving. That is not good news at all for our Season 1 champion.
Absolutely not, and it's a bit of a shame, but you know, still starting mid-pack, it's not a bad place for him to be necessarily. Bit of a shout out, I think, to Creator Series' fantastic creator of the meme recaps. If you've not seen them this season, then go check them out on the Creator Series YouTube channel. But Scotty Designs, by the way, up in 6th position in qualifying so far, 128.5. We're looking at his teammate Formula Kai right now, but for Scotty, this is a brilliant position for him to be in the closing stages of qualifying. Usually qualifying something of an Achilles heel for him, but to be inside the top 10, firmly inside the top 10, it's very good indeed. Ahead of Alex Gillen, ahead of Super Noodle Bagel, and Safso as well, of course. Formula Kai, we watch and we wait for how their first sector turns out here. Cross the split time. Let's see how they're going to end up doing down here on the run into the hairpin. 2.2 seconds up on their previous personal best. That would then put them into the 120, no, not 120, anything, 130 point something as Safso retires from the session. And so Formula Car will be hoping for further improvements of that sort of margin, about 2 seconds or so each sector. That would see them right the way up into that 127s, 128 sort of region there.
Going for that one flying lap at the end of the session, only with the banker on the intermediates early on, that 33.1, not competitive. One just, it wasn't the cleanest run, it has to be said, through 15, 16 and 17 either. Still continuing to find time, but Kai's got to get his skates on ever so slightly. Usually such a reliable and dependable qualifier in the F1 Creator Series. Still searching for his first win. Crossed the line in position number 1 a week ago at Imola, but a 13-second penalty dropped him down to P3. There's one more corner to go now. He's going to be planting that right foot, charging up to the line as he will cut the beam. Will he take provisional pole away from GB? I don't think so. It might be in the low 28s from Kai. Yes, it is. Onto the front row, but still a couple of tenths down on GB.
Yeah, 5 seconds improvement on his previous personal best on those intermediate tyres. So very, very good from him. Guatz is out of the session, we're being told here. He has had a crash in the first sector as cross the line goes Super Noodle Bagel in the McLaren, and he goes up to P4 on what will be his last attempt of this qualifying session. The times are now going to come thick and fast, although Scotty Designs, by the way, just starting a brand new lap. So we'll see what he's able to do. We'll watch his career with great interest as Adam Sanderson retires from the session. Guatz out, of course, as we mentioned before. Sasso already having retired from the session earlier on. Fabio coming out the final turn now, up towards the line. What is the Ferrari driver going to be capable of doing here? He goes P7 with that effort, 3.5 tenths up on what he has done previously. M-Sky Z out of the session. Also out is Hayden Gullis. He will start from the very back. Karim 70 on a lap right this moment in time, heading up towards that final part. And will it be enough for them to get up towards the front? Will they be able to try and salvage some championship hopes heading into this one? And just to address in the chat, Formula Yoshi, yes, everyone must be using 50-50 wings. If you spot a creator who is not using 50-50 wings at any point in qualifying and the race, do let us know. So, out that final turn then, we've got Lolinoba now coming up towards the line. They've got a slight toe off of their teammate there, it looks like, but whilst it's an improvement in lap time only, not in position. They're then demoted by Razin Chai, jumping up into second place on 127.981 to the thousandth of a second. It's the exact same time as GB68. That is impressive in a big way. And, Karim then, I'll have to read it out. Last man, that's what he said, so that's a bit of a shame for him. But there we go. Fabio will not necessarily be too happy with P10 in his game with his favourite track as well. And fastest time comes in right at the death for Benjamin Daly. Benjamin Daly with a 127.932. He jumps ahead of GP, who did improve on his own time to 27.969, but that has been a magnificent lap from Ben Daly. He's clearly taken what we've said earlier on a bit too personally.
Ben back with a bang, a buzzer beater. That's his third Creator Series pole, his first in 18 months. And considering qualifying's been his Achilles heel so far this season, he's going to be absolutely delighted with that pole position. He's got GB, Razin and Gillen in his back pocket. And we look down the order, some drivers out of position. Kareem 70, we saw that radio, qualifying dead last, if you exclude Hayden Gullis, who didn't set a lap time, and he was he was over 2 seconds off Alex Gillen's, off Tia McMahon. Sorry, that username is going to confuse me for the whole of the race. Believe you me. But Kareem 70 at the bottom, Tia McMurdoch back on top.
Pole position, let's go. That's exactly what Benjamin Daly has been saying to his chat. And I tell you what, Benjamin Daly, take a bow. That was a brilliant lap time. One of only 3 drivers in the whole field to make it into the 127s, along with GB and Razin Chai. Razin, of course, you saw that radio message earlier on, could not believe they set the exact same time as GB's first soft tyre effort. But there you are then, confirmation that it is Benjamin Daly in the Mercedes who will start from pole position in this race. He got a slight toe from Formula Carna's lap is what we're being told, and I'm sure that we'll be able to see a great deal of all of these behind the scenes bits, the creator POVs in the break. But there we are then. I think that we are not going to see the standings, so we can certainly tell you that that top 3 is confirmed. We'll get the rest of the qualifying order to you as soon as we can.
Let me get the stream up one moment.
Yeah, exactly. Someone will get a screenshot or Tom will get that up there and then we'll have a read through. But yes, very, very good efforts all round there from the Creator Series gang. And I must say, yeah, that was a very, very good qualifying session. Back over to the rest of the crew, I guess. Alex, over to you.
Yeah, that was a very good session. Yeah, I only wrote down the top 3 of Ben, GB, and Razin for the qualifying order. But we'll go quickly over to Carl. Carl, it's your time to shine, my friend. Let's see what we missed during that qualifying session.
Since we missed the race results, in a few moments' time, when they show up, cue the transition. Here we are. It's Tia McMurdoch on pole. I've only got the top 14, I'm sorry, but it's Benjamin Daly on pole position on his return. Meteoric lap from him. GB, Razin, Alex Gillen, Formula Kai rounds out the top 5. Meraki, Super Noodle Bagel in the McLaren, by the way. Applause and adulation to you, sir. Did not expect that, so well done. That guy, Vince Lolinover, Skyzy, round out the top 10. You then got Scotty Designs, by the way, Infratic, Safso, and Noctwatts, completing out your top 14. But to the clips of the day, and a couple of things to watch out for. First of all, a couple of racing line differences. We've got Tiamat Marduk here going through. This is turn 7, 8, 9, and 10. Through turn 10, takes loads and loads of curb. Car skates on it, bottoms out a bit, yes, but absolutely fine. No problem at all there. Safso just slightly kisses the curb on his lap. So through turn number 9, he goes into turn 10, and just dipping a wheel on the curb is the difference between being a hero and ending up as a 0. Half spin for Safso, luckily keeps it in the right direction. No Mick Schumacher for you. But that is the minute and millimetric amounts that the drivers have to take care with. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Hayden, what happened to him? Well, you can see his front wing's gone. Why, though? Well, he was going fast on his lap. I think he was hoping for a tow from someone else. But there's the unsuspecting Lolinover, who closed off the gap, not thinking Hayden would go into said gap. Hayden finds it very, very amusing. So, you know what? At least that's a good thing. On to then the final bits and pieces. What happened to Gwatz, you might be asking? Well, Kareem was in the process of giving him a tow. Actually, Kareem, not a good qualifying session. For one of the championship chasers, the Moroccan driver has work to do. But through the left-hander, just a bit too much. And that's the second point of highlight among many other points where contact can crop up. And finally, the big question. We'll go to Ben. And actually, as he went through the two right-handers, you can see he's 300ths down on his time, so not a good left-hander for the Mercedes man. A purple sector 1, though, set him well on his way. But this is what really set the timing sheets ablaze, and it's a distant tow from Formula Kai. Through towards the final corner, the Haas driver gives him a lethal dose of slipstream, accompanied with the DRS flappage. Kai moves dutifully out of the way, and into the last corner, hits the apex when it matters most, and that final, just under 0.3 of a second, was all the Australian sensation needed to take pole position today.
Well, that is certainly a beautiful lap indeed. The way it ended and that reaction from Ben tells you all. It's been a long time coming for that pole position, 18 months, as Tom said earlier. And I'm sure we'll be getting our formation lap underway in just a moment's time. But if we have a quick look at the calendar, just a reminder, ladies and gentlemen, an X will be ending next week, I believe, will be the last Grand Prix of the season with a mystery one, and it will be fantastic to see. But this is the penultimate round. This is Saudi Arabia. Daniel, Carl, and Tom. We'll come to Daniel first. Any predictions going into this one? What's your thoughts on who's going to pick up the win here?
My thoughts are that slipstream is going to be incredibly important in this race. I think if you lose the train, it's going to be a little bit like sort of things like iRacing Daytona. You see the drivers going through there onto the banking, the great big slipstream. It keeps everybody all together. The moment you lose that, you then just fall away from whatever leading pack is in front of you. Even if through every single corner on the circuit you're quicker, just that massive benefit they get on the straights, that then is something which I expect will be a similar sort of thing to what we see happening here today. The other thing as well is, as I say, I think this is going to end up becoming something of a peloton race. I don't think anyone's going to want to actually lead it until the final lap. And even then, probably not until the final corner, because of the amount of slipstream, the amount of drag that's going to come off of these cars. Formula One, take note. This is something I've been advocating for many, many years. Big barn door wings are going to create a lot of racing, unless, of course, the drivers choose to be sweaty and stay in a queue with each other instead.
Hopefully that won't happen. Tom, any predictions going into this one?
When Tim McMahon's qualifying well, you've got to be careful. He's only taken 3 Creator Series poles, this one, of course, being the third. He's also a very strong front runner. Obviously, it's going to be slightly difficult this week with the wildcard that we've got, but I find with the form that he's shown today, I find it very hard to look past Ben. He's got the bit between his teeth. I think everybody knows that, and I think it would be a nice story as well if he does pick up that first win of the season after what has been quite a trying first game cycle on F1 25 for him.
It certainly has. Carl, quick prediction before we jump to the formation lap.
Quick prediction from me, I think it's going to be an enthralling encounter, for lack of a better term. Think back to last season, let's not forget, when all the drivers were also on fixed setups, it was chaos. There were conundrums. There will be all the queries. They have to have the answers, though. They've got to calculate it and keep it composed. That's the main thing. Wings will go flying. I have absolutely no doubt. I'll put one driver at the head of the field. I'm going to say it now. I think Benjamin Daly's winning streak is going to continue.
think you might be right there, but it's time to find out. We got a full Grand Prix on the head. Daniel and Tom, let's take us through the formation lap.
Thank you very much then, Alex. And, well, this is going to be a big one, ladies and gentlemen. We've got already out of the formation lap, we've got GB and Ricky03. You've got everybody else still making their way around. Ben returns from Alex's wedding, where he got to see the love of his life get married. Oh, isn't that nice? Isn't that lovely? We've got, of course, all of that love will not be shared out on circuit. It will be, hopefully, a case of gladiatorial combat between all of these drivers as we see them get ready to end up go and scrap about here on the JEDDAH Corniche circuit in a way that few ever will have done on the Formula One games. Maximum downforce, maximum grip, and maximum drag. DRS will be powerful, slipstream will be powerful as we get ready to go flying.
Alternate strategies as well. We love to see it. This could be a Creator Series classic. 3 of the top 5 starting on the softs, along with M Sky Z in 10th. Tiamat at the pole sitter, Razin Chai and Formula Kai. Couple on the hard tyres as well. Meraki looking to go long, predicting that there won't be an early safety car. Matt 2-on-2 as well, slightly out of position down in 17th, also favouring the white stripe hard compound tyres. And as some of the drivers come to the end of the Demolition Derby formation lap, slamming it into the barriers goes Kareem 17. He's got a hell of a lot of work to do, the reigning champion. Slowest in qualifying, first time that has ever happened, and we don't usually see Kareem outside the top 10, let alone starting on the back row of the grid. A DNF on lap 1 a week ago in Imola means that, like we see there, a lot of work needs to be done. But he's one of the drivers that we know could charge through the field.
Yes, he is, and as he pulls into his grid slot at the back, that is last drivers coming into position now. You've got some aggressively pointing their cars as we get ready for the lights. As here at the JEDDAH Corniche circuit, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights. Lights up, and it's going to go. Creator Series, down to the first corner. It looks like GB68 has got a massive start. A great launch there for the medium shot Aston Martin, but Benjamin Daly fights him hard on the soft rubber. He's able to get that extra bit of purchase on the line and through the first couple of corners. On the run down now into the first few turns, and it is Ben leading the way ahead of the rest. That guy Vince is in the middle of the pack there, fighting hard with others. You got Alex Killen under tremendous pressure from Formula Kai right now. Meraki opening out a large gap already for this early in the first lap, and that's due to those hard tyres on the Ferrari. You've then got that guy Vince behind. Fabio in 8th position has made a huge leap up the order in all of this running at the beginning now, and Lolly Number making charges too. Super Noodle Bagel, who we can see on screen right now, tumbling through the field, having an absolutely dreadful start. It's been overtaken by so many cars, including now Season 1 champion Sasso moves up and ahead.
I want to avoid doing the Tony Hawking over the curbs in the first sector 3, turn number 9, just railing him off the circuit from 7th on the grid down to P14. But Ben laying his cars firmly on the table. Terrible start, but absolutely chucked it back around the outside of GB into turn 1 and holding firm in the lead of the Grand Prix for the time being. Matt 2-on-2 on those hard tyres now finds himself right at the bottom of the table. Battles going on in the midfield. Scoring designs all over the rear wing of Nogwatts in 11th and 12th. Matt 2-on-2 we just saw there in last place. GB closing all the time up to the back of Alex Gollan down into the final corner. Slipstream we know is going to be powerful, but for the time being, Ben, as we complete lap number 1, still has the lead.
He does indeed, and as they come up to that start-finish line, you can see that even without DRS, we can see that there is a massive closure going on between all of the cars here. Razin's looking this way and that, trying to find a way through. He's on the soft tyres just like Ben. The benefit for soft tyre runners will be getting to the front and starting to try and make a gap. If they don't manage to clear away from those medium or hard tyre runners in the close future, then the reality is that their gamble on the soft tyre is not going to pay off for them. It's currently 4.5 tenths the gap between GB and Ben at the start as well there. It's Razin right on the back end of GB as well at the moment. He's so close, you can smell what brand of oil has been put into that Aston Martin gearbox. And then, of course, Alex Gillen behind. Gillen, at this point in the race, if it finished like this, would not win the title here today. Would go to the final sprint event of Creator Series Season X. But look at this now. Razin getting very close to the back of GB68 as they head through some of the twisty bits there in the second sector, but ultimately having to just pull back ever so slightly as they then get to the more straight parts of the circuit here and DRS becomes available.
Look at the closing speed. Tenths dropping very quickly. Razin Chai continuing to duck and weave underneath the rear wing, but that was some carbon fiber being thrown up. Was it from the Alpine or somebody in the trailing back behind? Alex Gillen's going to... Not Alex Gillen, that's confused me so much. Timo Martin's going to lose the lead of the Grand Prix. Razin Chai around the outside as well on the pole stage from first down to third. Razin Chai certainly got the bit between his teeth, though. Brave on the brakes, down the inside of GB, and on the soft rubber, it's the Alpine that now leads the Grand Prix. It's Alex Gillen having it out with Lord Gillen as well.
Absolutely, Alex does not want to give this one up. He wants to move as far forward as he can, as easily as he can. Meraki with the fastest lap of the race so far. This is absolutely brilliant for him. As far as what position Alex Gillen needs to clinch the championship here today, he needs to outscore GB68 by 13 points. If GB were to therefore not finish in this race, or were to finish outside the points, Alex would need 5th position or higher.
100%. Third at the moment, GB leading the way. Razin has somehow gone from third to first to fourth in that first sector, and that may be just a sign of things to come in this Grand Prix with the wildcard that seemingly is working out very, very nicely. But GB trying to stretch his legs out in front, absolutely checked out, and he wants to break the DRS to the group behind, and that could be a very smart tactic indeed. The alarm bells will be ringing for Tiamat Marlick, the medium shod runner of GB, trying to get a big heads up on that group behind. His teammate getting stuck in as well. Dak Gavins has picked up a couple of places, now all over the rear wing of Meraki, and a Ferrari sandwich through the middle sector.
Absolutely, and you can see all this scrapping going on here whilst we see Vince fighting to get close to the back of Meraki. Meraki makes his way past Formula Kai. I have a sneaking suspicion these soft tyres were a gamble that has gone dreadfully wrong for the people who are running them. You can see that GB is checked out away from Ben. You've got Razin now struggling to keep on the back of Alex Gillen. He previously had been right on the back end of GB when they'd been fighting together. Now he's struggling to stay within around a half a second or so outside of the DRS zones. As they come through the final turn then, GB has the lead by 1.5 seconds now, near enough to Benjamin Daly, and sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix as well, without the benefit of DRS, remember. So GB has clearly dug deep there on that lap, pushed as hard as he possibly could, and that was that. So as far as then everything else is concerned, we've got Guatston with a 3 seconds time penalty. We've got no one else in the field with a time penalty so far, as Scotty Designs moves up ahead of him. Sky Z down 13th position there, and we're on board with their teammate Formula Kai right now, who's right on the back of Infratix. They've lost some positions now, having lost the one to Meraki earlier on, then to the ensuing pack behind. And this is the thing with this wildcard, it's keeping the field relatively close together, and the moment you make a mistake, that's then when it seems to then spit you out. It will make you lose multiple positions. Remember, at the end of the first DRS lap, we saw Benjamin Daly being overtaken by both GB and Razin, and nearly passed by Alex Gillen as well, but it ended up being that he was able to scrabble his way back up and into second position.
He continues to run away. Look at this, Sky Z and Adam Sanson, the Mercedes. Did you see him get so out of shape there? Unbelievable racing, and the Sauber holding firm in P14. Sanson's now going to have to go on the defensive, because here comes Tukey, nestling that Williams up the inside and pocket pinching Adam Sanson to push him down into P16. Look at the gap out in front as well, 2.2 seconds. Formula Kai still tumbling. He's the one that picked up the front wing damage on the first lap. That's why he's struggling to hold on to track position. 4 abreast, we go through. Blanket, throw them all over. All of the 4 drivers there. Tiamat Martin from second down to 5th. Through goes Gillen, Razin and Meraki as well.
Absolutely, look at that then. So that is a big change in the order here, and again, I just think further confirmation that these soft tyres maybe are not really delivering all that they need to here. Alex is now at the head of the train, and despite being at the head of the train, not in receipt of DRS, Razin simply not able to get past him, and that's because Razin's on those soft tyres, has contact there in the first turn. That's between Formula Kai and Safso in the Sauber, and Kai, another of these drivers, I believe, on the soft tyre. Yes, they are on the soft tyre. So all of those running on the softs right now are going to be begging for a safety car. They're going to be begging for some luck to change their fortunes, because right now the soft is not the tyre to be on. We're on a 100% leg distance race here, and only lap 5 the softs are dying in a spectacular way compared to the mediums and the hards. I suspect that again, it's all that previous reference they'll have had. Any racing they'll have done here before, the softs will not have died this quickly, but because they've now got so much downforce, so much load is going to be transferred through those tyres, it will be overworking them, overheating them, and, well, as you say, you can have too much of a good thing.
Yeah, and Raz has been dropped by Gillen as well, so like you said, those soft tyres absolutely terrible in these early stages. Meraki now getting ahead of the Alpine as well, and you would imagine that Razin and Ben are just going to continue to fall through the field as drivers on the better compound just file past. We're starting to see some separations forming. 1.4 seconds between first and second, 1.4 seconds between second and third. Ben trying to put one over on Razin as well, potentially get in between himself and the Ferrari, and that is exactly what our pole sitter is going to do. But dangling the front wing down the inside of the final corner is Razin, as our two-time champion battles it out with a one-time champion. There's another champion in front of them. Ben slotting in ahead of the Alpine. He wants a bit of the Ferrari as well. And with the DRS, he's going to absolutely blast past Meraki. And it's not even going to be a contest down to turn one. And Meraki going to have to think about the Alpine charge around the outside. That's a couple of places lost for our Season 4 champ.
Absolutely, and so there was a perfect example of how powerful the DRS can be around this circuit here today with the wildcard that we have. It just means that when you open that up, if you don't have the DRS, you are going to lose at least a position, unless, of course, you are Alex Gillen ahead of Razin Chai earlier on. It's really the only time in this race I've seen someone without DRS not being overtaken by those behind. But really, this then is now going to be an interesting question as to then how much pace is still in these soft tyres for Ben and for Razin. Certainly for Razin, I think they're not quite there. He's already lost a second to Ben Daly, but Ben is right there, just on the cusp of getting back into DRS range of Alex Gillen. And with Gillen just being that little fraction ahead, if Ben is able to make his way up and into the DRS window, then he could potentially find himself closing up to the back of the medium tyre runner, getting himself back into the flow of this race and trying to get himself a decent result here. As it is right now, though, I'm not entirely certain that that is a likely thing as the lap unfolds. More and more of the time, he's losing time, not just to Alex Gillen in front, but also to Razin Chai behind, who's now under attack from Jake in the Ferrari. Meraki now having a look to the outside, thinks better of it here, could have well attacked, but chooses not to, but that's then exposed him. Up the inside goes that guy, Vince, and Vince then with a slight luck up on the front there as he charged into the corner. That's the thing, you can't play DRS games and sit in behind another driver, think, I'm going to go a bit more cautious, because that will end up happening. A driver with big, tall wings on, able to brake as late as they dare, they can then have a go. Now, on this occasion, it's worked out for Jake, but it won't every time.
And you think Jake in this position's got to be proactive, considering that GB and Alex have scampered off into the distance. No battery for Raz, and that shows you how much he's trying to push to desperately cling on to as many places as he possibly can. I can be fairly certain he's going to keep losing. And Lolinob arriving on the scene. Datkovic, we saw having a look down the inside of Jake into the final corner. Infratic, Watson, Safso rounding out the top 10. Good start for Kareem as well from 19th. Now finding himself just outside the top 10. And Razin getting out of the turbulent air, trying to cool the tyres and the engine temperatures as well. That's something we haven't spoken too much about, but when you're following this closely, as so many drivers are, those engine temperatures are going to begin to skyrocket as well as the tyres.
They certainly will. And of course, when you have those rising temperatures, the other thing to remember is just where we're racing. Yes, it's a nighttime race here in Saudi Arabia, but it's still the Middle East. It's still a very, very warm environment for these cars, for these drivers, and for their tyres, of course. DRS open here as we take a look at Karim 70 trying to make his way back up the field, of course, after starting down in 19th position. He tries to get past Safso, will get past Safso after forcing the Sauber wide to take that wide line. Not as much grip out there as Meraki makes his way past Benjamin Daly, and now there's a 2.6 second gap between him and Alex Gillen in front. The hard tyre, I think, has been a very good gamble here, because all of this that we're talking about, the overheating of the soft tyre, that's something that will come to the mediums next. It's something that will hit them eventually. The hards are most protected from that sort of degradation. The question, of course, becomes as to whether later in this race, when you might be out of hard tyres, and then to the inside goes Karim 70. He's tried it again here as Safso's been able to make his way back past, but Safso's giving them the racing room. Safso once again holds in front. Oh, this is a brilliant bit of racing between all of these drivers here, and they can try these audacious moves because they have all the grip underneath them. If they make a mistake, the car's much less likely to spin out than usual with low, trimmed out downforce levels. This is proper racing today in the Creator Series.
Charging through, one of the best in the business, Cream 7T, showing you how much you have to work to keep hold of these places. Scotty Designs piling past him in that first sector, getting up into P11 after Safso getting back past the Red Bull as well. His teammate Gorson looking pretty speedy as well, ducking and weaving underneath the rear wing of Infratic, looking very menacingly in the rear view mirrors of the Scarlet car. Still this train from third down into the midfield as Meraki still 3.3 seconds off the back of Gillen. Might not be any crashes. Interesting from Team Mark there, just because there's so much grip, and that's what, Dan, you were talking about earlier on. You can have so much confidence because of the downforce and the grip that you've got. Just ducking over to the left-hand side was Infratic, maybe just trying to get some clean air, but look at that. Lolinoba falling off the circuit, and Datkovic is vulnerable as well.
Absolutely. Vince is vulnerable. He has the DRS at least to defend as well as attack, but that poor exit there means that he's now got Fabio alongside him. Fabio squeezes him, boxes him in behind the Alpha Tauri, or the V-Carb rather, whatever name they are this year, and they then go 3 wide through the final turn. Fabio on the outside, and Infratic moves up into P6 in the Ferrari now, has Razin Chai in their sights ahead of them, has the slipstream of the Alpine as well. On the ring down to that first corner though, it's late on the brakes behaviour from Lolly Nova. Lolly gets back in front of Infratic, and the pair of them continue to scrap. Vince losing positions now as he tumbles down the order, having lost them to Lolly, to Fabio, and now also to Guatz as well. And as this continues on, then we're going to see whether or not he might be able to counter-attack here. Will he be able to make his way back up the order and towards those other cars to fight, or is he going to have to stay where he is for the time being? That's the big question. As it is right now, we've got a big old DRS train all the way from Jacob in 3rd position, down and down and down and down it goes until you get to M Sky Z in 19th position. No, sorry, now Super Noodle Bagel in 18th position. That's the first driver who's outside of 1 second from the car in front of them. So everybody's got DRS in this train. It means then that if there was more grip available for those in the middle part of the pack, then maybe they could start to charge up towards the front here. But when everyone's got DRS, nobody's got DRS.
Still desperate to try and get past Fabio. Look at him. All over the back of the Scarlet Ferrari as we pile down into the final sector, not thinking about the move into turn number 20. Fabio slightly wide, and that'll just compromise his exit ever so slightly. Half a second off the back of Lonanoba, who in turn is challenging Razin Chai, who for the time being has stemmed the flow and stopped those cars from filing past them as the soft tyres continue to degrade. But I think we're going to retain the formation in this DRS train. I'm surprised actually that Meraki hasn't made more of an impression on the duo in front. Now 4 seconds off the back of Alex Gillen. And Tim McModder looks very comfortable just sat in behind him at the moment.
Certainly does, and maybe this is just the thing. Maybe it's just a case of biding time, maybe saving a bit of fuel as well, because of course the real-world logic would dictate that if you've got big tall wings on a circuit, you would be far less likely to run those sorts of wings on. You'll be burning a lot more fuel. Now, whether of course that's replicated in-game, that's something to ask the drivers later on, of course, after they've had this experience. But if that is the case, then it will be one of those scenarios in which, of course, you'll be wanting to maybe just sit in behind, build up a fuel reserve, and then go for an attack later on in the Grand Prix. But it's good news, at least for Ben and for Razin, that they're able to stick there with that top flight, despite the fact they're on these aging soft tyres. Time penalties come in there for Tukey as well, very sadly for them in the Williams. You can see him just in the back of shot there behind Karim and Safso's battle, and they've gotten that for multiple warnings. So too has Super Noodle Bagel. They've just come through the pits another time here, and I say another time, it might well have been their first occasion. They've just dropped down to the back after that brilliant qualifying session. But yeah, unfortunate for them, and I'd imagine that more and more of these penalties will come, because whilst Ben was absolutely correct, more and more drivers have more and more grip for once. Safso to the inside, that's an area you'd never see an overtake usually. Look at this brilliant racing between all the drivers. Because they have all this grip, you can see great overtakes like this. But the other thing as well, of course, is that you might push the limits a bit too far. And whilst the car will be okay, your track limits may well not be, and that's what we're seeing as Tukey now moves up and past both of the drivers he had been in behind. Big slide at the back end there for Karim as they come out the final turn there. Lots of cars now diving into pit lane. Got that guy Vince in there. There were another couple that followed him in as well. I'm fairly certain of it. And so we'll wait and see as to what others come in. Apparently no, absolutely not. It's just the one car. So I'm just talking a load of old rubbish. F1 Killer in the chat saying, this is what I needed during the summer break. You're absolutely right. It was. If you like this, then make sure you share it with other friends. I'm not beyond shamelessly advertising here in Create Series in the middle of a race. Share it. Let's get the viewer count up, everybody.
100%, because we're still seeing lots of drivers trading blows. Ben getting past Jake, Lolly getting past Jake as well. Those hard tyres not working for the Ferrari. 6 seconds off the back of Gillen. Off the road for Scotty Design. Shouldn't lose my place because Hayden Gullis not in the same picture. And has Adam Sanderson to deal with. He's trying to send it around the outside into turn number 13. Is the Mercedes going to have the traction? We can't quite see it there just behind. I think Hayden Gullis is just going to hold firm in 14th for the time being. Kareem as well, who's seen the reigning champ. He's been incredibly punchy, but just getting stuck in the mud ever so slightly. It's almost like he's taking one step forward, then a couple of steps back, gets past Safso. Safso comes back through and Tukey gets past him as well.
Absolutely. You can see all of this scrapping all throughout the field. It's cars very close together, but that gap, the really important one, is the one between third and second. Now 7 seconds between Benjamin Daly, though likely not for much longer, Benjamin Daly, and this man here, Alex Gillen. Gillen then up in second position, now a married man, and would love to start married life with a race win. It is probably more important, but we'll wait and see. I would argue that maybe for Alex, it would be a more monumental achievement to become a two-time champion than to tie the knot, but we'll wait and see. Maybe if we get them in for an interview later on, we can ask them just about that. After the run down the start-finish straight here, you can see that Meraki now moves to the inside, gets himself by Lolinova initially, but Lolly fights it back here on those medium tyres. The mediums, of course, are going to have a lot more to play with at this stage compared to those softs. And look at this, Fabio now moving past Benjamin Daly in the background as well. The two Ferraris are locking astern in 4th and 5th position, and could this be a prancing horse comeback? They have been fighting hard for the Constructors' Championship over the course of this season, never really getting those headline results of race wins and things like that, but with two of them this high up, whilst other teams are really just scoring well with one car so far in this race, this could be a brilliant result for Ferrari heading into the final round.
They keep just picking off Tia Mihalik and Razachai one by one as they continue to struggle on the soft tyres. Gwat's now in hot pursuit of the Season 5 champion as well, all over the back of the Alpine in the middle sector. Going to be interesting if we see later on in the Grand Prix, we start seeing even more overly ambitious and slightly unaudacious overtaking opportunities as Adam Sanson drops off the circuit. He was trying to get past Scory Designs, and the Haas is going to hold on to that position. Tuki battling away with Kareem 7T as well. Reigning champion still sinking his teeth into a couple of his rivals, but still bogged down in that midfield.
Yes, an awful lot of action going on, so much that we can barely keep an eye on what's going on here, really. Fabio is... Let's clinch! Absolutely incredible! This keeps going! More and more cars being collected! Fabio gets a 10-second time penalty for a severe collision with Lolinova, and that, unsurprisingly, will cause a virtual safety car at the very least you'd expect, if not a full safety car. We're just seeing yellow flags right now. Surely it's not just yellows. Come on now, F125. We've got to have a full safety car. There it is. That is the full safety car. And goodness gracious me, that's one of the biggest crashes we've seen in the Creator Series on the F1 game. If you want to see bigger crashes, you should take a look at the iRacing races that we've been having so far this season. Cheeky little plug. But there we are then, everybody. Wow, that was a big incident. Fabio getting that 10-second time penalty then. And what happened is being asked in the chat. We don't even know. We've got to try and figure this out now and get some clips for you to show during this safety car period, because I imagine it's going to be out there for a few laps. At this point, I'm going to open the door for bringing back in our main presenter this evening, Alex Heron.
Well, I mean, that was quite the incident indeed. I think Carl is just currently collecting all of the clips from that. Just riding over the last couple of laps. We've had quite the set of racing just from watching this incident with putting everyone is in the pits in traffic going very slowly down the main road. But yeah, it is not looking good for a lot of our drivers here. I think there might have even been some sort of desync issue here, Daniel.
Yes, that's what I'm making worried noises for, because as you can see there, it does say in the pits for Fabio, yet his car is driving around the circuit. We have seen this before. I remember there was a race with Ben being marked as in the pits. Oh, he's just now come out of the pits. Maybe we're okay, maybe we're not. I don't know. We'll wait and see. I can hear a little bit of radio is coming through now. Let me just play this for you.
You have to leave a space. All the time you have to leave a space.
Well, there we go then. That is a live radio replay there on Creator Series of exactly what Lolly was saying. Don't question it. That was absolutely what was said. And if anyone says otherwise, then no, go away.
Well, it has ended up with GB and Gillen actually missed the original pit lane entrance, so they've had to both just come into the pits. Matt212 is just pitting now. And unfortunately for him, I think he's still going to lose a lot of position to drop down. Right, I think Carl has got all of the clips ready, so we'll throw it over to Clipbook Corner. Carl, can you take us through to what has just happened in quite the catastrophic Creator Series incident?
Well. Let me just take you through everything that's happened so far then, whilst all the pit lane triggers have been pulled. First of all, the race start. We go over to Tiamat Marduk. Actually got a lot of wheel spin on this race start. Not a clean getaway from the Mercedes. Man, GB pulls alongside, but it's brave and it's bold and it's round the outside. A little bit of contact through turn 2 as the curb spits Tim Malik out into the path of GB slightly, but no harm done. He gets the move stuck there. Then we move on, well, in contrasting fortunes, while there were some decent battles, for the man I highlighted in qualifying, Super Noodle Bagel, I'm so gutted for him. Such a great qualifying result, but in a matter of moments, it completely unravels. Chooses the outside line, side by side with Meraki, no harm done there. Has got that guy Vince alongside him as they enter into the left-hander. Just about holds it round the outside, but goes wide, compromises his momentum, and that's the thing we've seen through this race, I think, more than anything else. It's a game of keeping that momentum as much as possible, because he clatters over the curbs, bottoms out, over the outside curbing, has to cut. Turn 10 as a result. Through goes Lolinoba, through goes then Scotty Designs, M-Sky Z, and Mr. Gwatz. I mean, it's an exponential rate of decline for the McLaren man. The absolute worst possible start. But I know what you're probably thinking. What on earth happened to cause this safety car? You saw it all in front of you, but let's get everybody up. First of all, just before we track Fabio's imminent demise on this occasion, great move on Ben, great piece of opportunism to just hold the outside line, spots the compromised exit, and again, the game of momentum being played to perfection. Ben wisely backs out of it, and then it was a Ferrari 4-5 before too long. But that's when the problem started. Because here we are, we're going to watch Fabio first. They head through in towards the left-hander, already slowing down to try and save a bit of battery, to save a bit of fuel as well. The fuel burn is so aggressive this race, nearly 0.1 laps of fuel going with every single tour. So gets through on Jake. As you can see, there's the red proximity arrow on Fabio's car. We'll slow it down a little bit here. Just tries to cut across and get through. In fact, probably was clear of Jake earlier, but it's a bad miscalculation for the Ferrari driver, and so into the wall, wings flying everywhere, and then we go over to Lolly's point of view. Fabio, of course, survived to tell the tale. Lolly, though, wasn't so lucky. Gets the tag straight into the wall. Unbelievably, that heavy contact did not cause the retirement for the V-Carb driver. It's Karim looking for avoiding action, shears the front left, clean off the V-Carb of Lolinoba. Not a contactless transaction, and Lolinoba certainly wishes it was. It wasn't just him, though. Both Italian stallions bow out of this race in a dramatic turn of events. As a result, racing is neutralised, but I think as we hand it back over to Alex, Daniel and Tom, you've got to say at the moment, GB and Alex, based on that first stint, look in another league so far.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly do. And Daniel and Tom, we'll throw it back to you because the safety car is still underway here. But yeah, that was quite the incident indeed. And I think we've got quite the race on our hands for the next half.
Yes, I have a suspicion that we're going to have a bit of an interesting race, shall we say, from this point out. It's essentially all reset again. GB returns could be his last race of the season, and looking to do all he can do to prevent Alex Gillen taking the championship. There we go. I can't read apparently, but there we are. It's one of these things now where we've got just a total reset of everything that's come before this point. Now where we've got, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to ask for tyres to be shown now on our graphics here in front of us, because what we can see now, hard tyres across the board. Super Noodle Bagel, I don't want to really make their day any worse for them, but I think medium tyres, that is the wrong choice for this Grand Prix. I think what we're discovering here is that the hards are most definitely the tyre to be on, and I think it's then going to be interesting to see what happens for the Ferraris, because clearly both of them had a great deal of pace. Jake being able to stay in that top flight group whilst then having less grip in theory compared to the medium and the soft tyre runners, certainly the softs at the beginning of the race at least. And then of course Fabio having lots and lots of pace to be able to move their way forward. They still outside the top 10, remember, climbed all the way up there into that position where they were then with their teammate. They were about to take the position for third place, and then that collision happened. So I'm not convinced that it's the last we'll see of the Ferraris. I have a feeling that they'll move their way back through the order, but elsewhere we've now got Adam Sanderson back into the pits then. So what's going on here? Onto a set of medium tyres for the Mercedes driver. Now I suppose he's towards the back. He's got nothing to lose necessarily. He can now get himself through and in towards the rest of the field here before they get to the end of the circuit. He'll be able to go at full chat, warm the tyres up to their operating temperature, and that's an interesting position for us all to be in at this stage. Tom, what's your sort of your thoughts and feelings at this point now as we are on lap 16 of 50?
I mean, in Adam's case, maybe he doesn't think that the hards can go all the way to the end. Maybe he's heard from what Jake was talking about in the first stint. We don't know what his tyre wear was at the point of that big Mahusiv crash that took out both Ferraris that, like Carl said, they were in a 4.5, now in a 16.17, which is unideal, I think is the best way to put it. And Adam may be thinking this is an opportunity to try and get himself back into this race, strap on the faster tyres, maybe make up some places once the safety car comes in and have a little bit of fun with it, because like we saw, and something that'll benefit the Ferraris as well, overtaking a lot easier than we saw last week, for example, and the week before at Monza as well. So we should be seeing people getting their elbows out, razor blades, daggers, pistols. We don't know yet. We'll see what comes.
Absolutely. Now, we do have some thinking that there might be a glitch to the lobby. Remember earlier on we saw that in that Fabio was registered as being in the pit lane, yet his car was driving around on track. Now that did boomerang back to him being in the position that he's in now and back on the circuit, but this is a very long safety car. This is unusually so. So what might end up happening here is we might end up getting a red flag if this was to continue on for too much longer. We'll stick with it for the time being, of course, and we'll let you know what ends up happening behind the scenes. At this stage, though, 17 laps run out of 50, or 17th lap being run out of 50. We're not even anywhere towards the halfway mark just yet, so might be that we go for a full 100% restart. It might be that we don't allow for that and we go for 50%. We're not sure. And of course, a reminder to all of you that drivers can only retire in the Creator Series owing to collisions, whether they be actual ones like we saw earlier on with Lolly and Ricky sadly out of this Grand Prix, or intentional ones, deliberately driving yourself into the wall to cause a safety car to come out to spice things up. However, they're disallowed after lap 35.
And this is going to be the telltale sign as well. Adams caught the back of the snake. I don't think there was a driver in GB's car there, unless the helmet had disappeared, which is going to be slightly concerning. No, there is no driver in the cockpit of GB's car, unless that is just a very dark helmet that I can't see, blending in with the black and the dark green of the Aston Martin livery. So, fingers crossed, the safety car will get brought in at the end of this lap. Yes, it is, and we can, thankfully, continue racing.
There we are then. Thankfully, there's not any need, at this stage at least, to do a lobby restart. We will keep you abreast of any information if that has to happen. But as it is right now then, GB leads the field as the de facto safety car, as the real one peels around the final turn now, dives towards the pit lane. Of course, all the cars will have gotten their little D rating at this stage, the game deliberately slowing you down. And let's now wait and see what happens here on the restart. Has GB gone for it already, or has he not? It looks like he has to me. It's go, go, go once again here in Creator Series. And as they come down to the start-finish line and cross it to start the 18th lap of this 50-lap Grand Prix, it is GB68 still at the head of the field, ahead of Alex Gillen, Benjamin Daly, Razin Chai, and Safso up in 5th position, though he is now being overtaken by a Haas. That's Sky Z, apparently. No, that's being overtaken there. Sorry, I do apologise. I was looking at the wrong cell, but that was Sky Z being overtaken by Formula Kai instead. Further back down the order, Safso in 5th position still. Guat's behind him, then that guy Vince, and then as we go further down the order, it is then from 10th place down, Mac 212, Karim 70, Hayden van der Gullis, and then of course a 3-second time penalty for M Sky Z there to continue going on. It's Tuki, it's Scotty Designs, by the way, Maraki, and then Fabio, Adam Sanderson, and Super Noodle Bagel at the back of the order, already having been overtaken by Adam Sanderson and a couple of other drivers, 2 Ferraris as well. And so Super Noodle Bagel's day going from bad to worse.
Saw a little bit in that first sector. Drivers just struggling on this first lap to get some temperature into these hard compound tyres. The front tyres in particular, Razin running wide, few drivers as well running wide through the twists and the turns of sector number 1. And as those tyres begin to heat up, we should see them being able to keep it on the straight and narrow. But Razin is under a little bit of pressure for his former teammate Safso in the battle for 4th and 5th. Quats a further 0.6 of a second off the back of this duo, squabbling over 4th place and 5th place. Safso doesn't quite have the run down into the final corner. Will just sit in behind, nestle in behind the Alpine for the time being. The other Alpine under pressure though, Cream 70, battling away once more down the inside of Mac 212, puts some manners on the driver that recently took over from Tom Biener in the Alpine car, and up inside the top 10 for what I think will be one of the few times in the opening 19 laps of this Grand Prix so far for the reigning champion. Not done yet though, because Skies is going to be under pressure. Down to turn one. The Sauber turns in, a little bit of contact between himself and the Red Bull crew. Going to try and have this out around the outside. No space left at all, and eventually Skies gets out of the way.
Absolutely, not much choice really for Skyzy there, but to get out of the way. If they'd tried to contest that anymore, then we would have likely seen a second safety car. Lap 19 of 50 here in Jeddah, and we've got Hayden Gullis on screen right now. The driver who, of course, is pursuing that cleanest driver championship as Adam Sanderson comes out the pits yet again. Now, is this going on to the hard tyres once more after having gone in for the mediums? Yes, it is. Back onto the same set of hard tyres that they were using. And apparently, according to our commentary box chat, Razin is struggling with what would be described as deep fried audio. So there we are then. That's making the Scottish side of my genetics very, very hungry, in fact. So there we are. We've got deep fried audio for Razin Chai, who currently occupies 4th position, as Benjamin Daly sits in 3rd place. Our pole sitter closes back in on the back of Alex Gillen.
That safety car's worked out really nicely for him, hasn't it? Because he was nearly 10 seconds off the back of the duo in front of him. Now can just tuck in between, or tuck underneath, the McLaren in front of him. Lord Gillen down the inside of GB into the final corner, taking the lead off the hands of the Aston Martin. The top two in the championship, top two in the race so far. But Tim Mark might have something to say about that as we cut the beam, start lap number 20. McLaren, Aston Martin, Mercedes. Will that be the order by the time we get to the braking zone of turn number 1? The McLaren slots to the back. It's Alex Gillen in 3rd. GB holds the lead of the Grand Prix ahead of Ben, with Alex and Razin just behind.
Yep, this is where some of the games might be played here, as up the inside in the first turn goes Maraki, round the outside now of Scotty Designs, and completing that move, a move which they'd attempted earlier on the Alpine, I believe it was of Matt 212, though possibly Razin actually, given where they were, and on that occasion the Alpine was able to just get back ahead. This time though, Maraki's learned from his mistakes, has been able to make his way past the Haas driver. So then, as we continue on here, our attention goes back towards the front, and now Alex Gillen potentially under a little bit more of that's a lie. Oh dear, that is not the commentator pairing that we have at all. But what we've got now is we've got an advert there for some sim racing setups. If you want some pro setups, then go and grab them after this race is done. They're not quite the setups that we're using though, because of that 50-50 wings wildcard. Welcome in if you are new to the broadcast. At this point in the evening, we have a wildcard this evening at the Mystery Grand Prix, and that is that all drivers are running 50-50 wings on their virtual Formula 1 cars, as DRS is open on the back of the Mercedes and of the McLaren. They go side by side on the run down to the final turn now, and the McLaren boxing in the Mercedes. Ben Daly trying to hang it around the outside of Alex Gillen. Alex Gillen is actually Lord Gillen on this broadcast, and Benjamin Daly is Alex Gillon. But don't question it too much, as the pair of them go side by side. Barely a cigarette paper could be put between these two cars as GB defends the inside in as much of an aggressive way as he can, but round the outside in turn number 1, the inside of turn number 2 goes Benjamin Daly. Tibet Marduk tries the run now down towards turn number 3. Is this going to end in tears? No, it ends with the Mercedes going back into position behind the Aston Martin.
Golan versus Gillen, and Golan coming out on top on that occasion. GB still holding the lead of the Grand Prix. No breaks in the DRS train inside the top 10. Matt 212 just about clinging on to the coattails of Kareem 17. 9th and 10th, then it's 1.7 back to Tukey. So we have one lead group, then we have the chasing peloton, as we mentioned earlier on behind. Battles going on down to 13 as Dakovitz defending from Formula Kai. He was last at the start of the Grand Prix, courtesy of some front wing damage he picked up early on. Timo Marduk not happy with GB though, helping out his championship rival. I think Alex is going to be pretty happy with that. And now GB scampering off into the distance, a second clear of Timo Marduk. We've seen this before, bit of deja vu from the opening couple of laps.
Absolutely, and that battling going on, of course, you know, helping your championship rival, all of this sort of thing. This is the sort of thing I don't like to see in Creator Series. I want drivers to be going for the win. So right now, my full support is behind Alex Gillen in his attempts to overtake Benjamin Daly, because whilst I do love the pair of them equally, this occasion, he's the one who actually wants to have a bit of a scrap and a bit of a race. Ben wants to play the political game and say, hey, well, for your championship, it's better if I win this race. No, it's better if Alex wins the race. And to do that, he's got to overtake you and the driver in front. You can see here the Ferrari's charge back up through the field continues, with Fabio and Jake now lining up moves here, as now moves lined up into the first corner, and it's 3 wide into there, and it's contact between the Aston and the McLaren, the two championship rivals going wheel to wheel, and a little bit more then as Benjamin Daly seeks to try and get his first win of the season, tries to then disturb the status quo of this Grand Prix, and that being the two cars in front and behind him fighting away for victory victory up to this point.
Alex definitely not thinking about the championship there, going 3 wide down into turn number 1 and could leave himself at the mercy of Razin Chai. He's had a really nice run coming onto the straight. And he's going to dart over to the middle of the track. Gillen's going to have to do some even more defending here, holding it around the outside. The Alpine just about has a foothold. Does it become a stranglehold? Gillen could be falling out of the podium places. Has the Alpine got it still neck and neck? Gillen not happy with Ben. Ben not happy with GB, but Gillen does hold on to third place ahead of the charging Alpine of Razin Chai. Safso still very much in this ballpark as well.
Absolutely, and Razin Chai might well be in the driver's seat, pardon the pun, as now he gets the DRS open on the back of the McLaren as they run up this part of the second here, and he goes wide. He's Gillen tries to force his championship rival, another of the potential winners at the end of this season if the points fall in the right way. Ways the outside there. It was almost like what we saw Oscar Piastri do around the outside of Lewis Hamilton in Formula One earlier on this season, and now then Razin's taking it personally, it seems. He's now going for it on Gillen once more. Gillen locking up in the front left tyre, trying to get as much speed carried into that final turn as he possibly can to go onto the attack again, not having to be defensive, but one driver going on the attack is the one who takes the lead of the Grand Prix. Daly moves up on lap 23 of 50 into first place once more, and there's big slide there, big moment for that guy Vince, and he's not only struck into the side of the Red Bull there of Karim, but he's opened the door for Formula Kai. Kai goes through, and we can now see all this battling continuing here. It's great racing this evening in the Creator Series.
Got shafted by that as well, got shoulder barged off the circuit there from Datkovitz. He's picked up 20 seconds worth of penalties, one for corner cuts and the other one for gaining a position off the circuit. His race has been absolutely ruined, and I wouldn't be surprised if he retires from this Grand Prix. He's letting all of the drivers file past, and that is not good news. We have a safety car called out though, so not quite sure what it is for, and Gwatz has indeed retired from the session.
Interesting, interesting. Now, of course, we're now riding with Super Noodle Bagel. If we jump to the onboard camera here, we might well see where there could be a stricken Gwatz. He's still driving, in fact. So has he just retired in the menus? That's, well, that's naughty. You shouldn't do that in Create Series. And, oh dear. Well, that's not what we want to see. That has affected this race. And, well, that's a shame that Gwatz has decided to do that, but anyway, we'll wait and see. Maybe it's a case that he's possibly had a stream go down, his internet connection, something like that, but that shouldn't have caused the car to retire, so not entirely certain. Let's now bring in somebody to have a chat to. Usually we'd save this for the end of the race and just for those who finish in the top 3, but what we're going to do is we're going to move now into our commentary booth. It is, of course, Lolly Noba. Lolly, I hope you're here with us. I hope that you're going to unmute anytime now. First of all, massive commiserations for you after that crash earlier on. Just talk us through it from your perspective. You seem completely innocent there.
Yeah, hi guys. Hello everyone. Not good to stay here, but yeah, I want to race. Anyway, I don't think it's my fault. Can happen. I think Fabio just have I don't know. He wanna go on the left. He see me going on the left and. Really at the end try to overtake me on the right, but he don't have space, so he just touched my rear.
Absolutely. And do you know, up to that point, what was your sort of feeling in the car? Of course, we've got this wild card this weekend, 50-50 wings. That's, of course, massively changing how these cars are being driven. We're seeing a lot more battling, for example, things like that. What were your impressions of the wild card and how that's changed the racing today?
Yeah, it was really good. It's really fair, the 50-50 in Jeddah. Hope I see another time. Because I see so much battle with the battery, with the brake. It's really good to see some battle on the brake and not on with the DRS and on the straight. So it was really fun. I feel comfortable, but now I feel maybe dead.
Absolutely. Well, fantastic. Well, thank you very much for taking the time to come and join us and have a bit of a chat there about the race. Again, apologies that it's not been the result you would have wanted, but it was a very entertaining race from you up to that point.
Yeah, GG, good race. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. There we go. Thank you very much, Lolly Noba, for jumping in, having a chat to us. That has been an interesting insight there. Now, of course, as we've got our safety car period, I feel it's only fair to reintroduce our presenter for today, Alex Heron.
Yeah, and we certainly have had a race up to that safety car point. Shame it has come out in such controversial circumstances with Gwatz retiring in the menus. But maybe there's a bit of action we've missed during this session. So we're going to throw it over to Carl if he is ready in Clipbook Corner. I'm just ambushing him right now, just like that. But Carl, are you ready to show us some clips here?
Born ready. Absolutely born ready. So, again, all of the queries and conundrums behind the scenes, here we go. First of all, some great battling to highlight. We have Karim making 2 overtakes in quick succession. He's recovered up to P5, by the way, from pretty much the very back of the grid this race. So scintillating showing from the Red Bull driver, but down the inside he goes at the final corner of Map 212. Better if it's a normal speed. We don't want to be here for the whole of Star Wars 8 to figure out where he made the overtake on SkyZ. Towards the first corner though, DRS of course, wide open. SkyZ, well, the DRS wasn't enabled, in fact, because it was a lap after the safety car. There it is, right on cue, but down the inside. Once again, not afraid to be brave and bold on the brakes. Holds the outside. SkyZ with just a little bit too much of a squeeze on the outside. You want to keep that position, again, partially owing to contact model. Karim comes off much better this time around, though, courtesy of contact model. In the end, SkyZ concedes Karim up to P9, and his recovery has been rampant ever since. We had a little bit of spiciness between 2 of the championship protagonists, with Ben caught in the championship sandwich, although in this case he chose the outside line, which was the smart thing to do. Alex holding the inside, contact with the rear left of GB's tyre. Didn't get damaged, luckily for him, and so on his merry way he goes. Was sort of ruining what Ben was trying to do in terms of he lost the DRS, was trying then to go for moves. Not really sure what was going on in the Mercedes man's camp. Regardless though, we carry on onto Karim's POV. Now this is what started the ricochet effect, what caused Gwatz to retire from this particular session. So we see Gwatz there, just straight ahead. We've got Vince and we've got Kai. Vince to the inside, takes a very, very narrow line. There's Gwatz, massive lockup from the Aston Martin, huge slide. Gwatz has to take avoiding action. There was a 10-second time penalty. And as for Gwatz, as we're getting note that the safety car is in at the end of this lap, got the 10 seconds and then straight into the wall. Another lap on the safety car so we can breathe a little bit more. But Gwatz did try and actually DNF himself out of this race. Didn't go for a second bite of the cherry though. Complete and utter incredible infuriation for the second Red Bull driver. Retires in the menus. I don't necessarily think he meant to. I just think it was more out of frustration than anything else. But rules are rules. So we'll see what happens from there. That is all the action I have at the moment, though. It's been a non-stop slobber knocker here in Saudi Arabia, but God, 50-50 wings. It's not too bad of a wild card, is it?
No, it is certainly not, Carl. It's been fantastic, and we're still under safety car here on lap 26, and we are very much looking forward to getting this restart happening. Daniel and Tom, I'll throw it back to you, because it has been quite the exciting race, and we had any pit stops during that clipbook phase?
I don't believe we have. I think everyone is still in the... Oh, well, Adam. So whatever he's doing, as far as pit stop strategy is concerned here today, he's doing a rainbow challenge or something like that. He's done 7 stops in this Grand Prix so far. I'm just going to go back to something that Carl mentioned there because it was a very good point. Benjamin Daly, of course, was in what he described as a championship sandwich there between the 2 contenders. And so naturally, I'm going to ask my co-commentator Tom something that's never been asked in a Cred Series broadcast. If you could make a Cred Series sandwich, what would you put in it?
Is this a sandwich made up of drivers? Because I think that's a whole different question.
I mean an actual legitimate sandwich, and you call it the Creator Series. If we were going to put drivers in sandwiches, we would need to start speaking to some cannibals, because I frankly don't know how to prepare human meat.
I'll try and get a move on with this, because safety car's probably going to be... I think you need something bog standard, like we'll go for a bit of cheese and ham, but then you need something absolutely weird in there. So maybe something like, I don't know, pears, or put some Marmite in there or something as well.
For me, I think that one of the key ingredients would be a lot of salt. But there we are. That's how cookie crumbles here in Cred Series, and we've been able to get ourselves to the end of the safety car period without any need to do too much filling, except for choosing sandwich fillings. Anyway, with that tortured metaphor to one side, we've now got GB68 coiled like a spring, ready like a viper to pounce onto the back of Benjamin Daly. And not in a rude way. Here we go then. He's leaving this very late, is Ben. And as they go, GB then accelerates up to the side of his rival, then has to back out because he's preempted it, and then Ben goes. So that means that the jump is on the Mercedes driver. Now it's the Aston Martin and the McLaren going side by side here into that first corner. They have a scrap. It's lost them time, and now there's 0.7 of a second between them and Daly as they start to make their way through. Now then, they go into here, and look at that. That's the Williams up the inside. Oh no! Front wing destroyed for Rasin Chai on the right-hand side there. The end plate completely gone as there was a move just ahead of them. The Williams of Tukey taking a great moment there to launch one up the inside, and Rasin just not expecting it. Got back onto the throttle, took a normal line through the corner, but suddenly there was just a car in front of them. Nothing really they could do there other than having more mongoose-like reactions. But sadly, they were not presenting on this occasion. As we see then, we've got lots of position changes. Adam Sanderson has come all the way up from the back at the end of that safety car period, up now into 13th position. Very, very good for him. And Rasin, very good, very nice. It's something which you would expect to hear from the Alpine driver at this stage. This is making his chances of being one of the championship contenders in the final round just that little bit slimmer. A couple of drivers who are making their way further forwards, though. I must say, big shout out to the two Ferrari drivers. Fabio and Maraki have made their way up from the very, very back in the first safety car period, less than 10 laps ago, to now being in P6 and P7. Safso also with a fantastic run of form right now, up in P5. Then it's Karim with another brilliant performance. As here we go, 3 wide in the final turn. Don't have another collision, boys. As here we go then. It's the Alpine, it's the Haas, it's the Aston, it's the Williams. It's all sorts of colours and cars. As we go down the start-finish straight, it's going to be at least 2 wide on the run into the very first corner. As we've got Kai trying to defend from the charging Vince there. You've got Adam Sanderson moving back through the field as well. More contact, potentially more damage to the Alpine of Rasin Chai there as well. A compromised car at this stage. And I must say, this has been an interesting bit of dicing on this opening few laps. But again, yes, big shout out to those who sit in 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th and 8th. Hayden Gunners, where's he come from? This is great racing for all these drivers.
It comes around quite clearly back to positions that they're more familiar this season in Fratic and Maraki nestled inside the top 7. Safso doing nicely. Kareem picked up a 3-second penalty under the safety car. Not quite sure what happened there. The first safety car in the Grand Prix, so that'll be lingering over his head. The remainder of our Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, Tim Mollick leading the way, still ahead of GB, who got his elbows out, and he had to hold off the assault from Gillen as the safety car came in, banging tyres not once but twice, and Gillen having to stay in 3rd for the time being. But with the DRS laps open, you can bet your bottom dollar that these places are going to start trading.
Absolutely. And as we look at this then, we've got all these cars ploughing their way down to the final corner here in Jeddah. DRS open on the vast majority of cars then. And the one exception is, of course, the Mercedes of Benjamin Daly. He cuts back across Alex Gillen there. Slightly confusing everybody. I do realise it is Alex Gollon is Benjamin Daly and Lord Gillen is Alex Gillen. Just run with it. It'll be fine. Eventually we'll get through it together. And so as we go across the start-finish line then, new fastest lap of the Grand Prix comes from Formula Kai. Alex Gillen trying to make his way past Ben Daly. Not quite happening this time. Ben choosing to stick in behind GB68 for the time being. Although, whilst all this is going on, they're just inviting attack from Karim 7T, who in that Red Bull has been able to make their way up into 4th position, having started damn near at the back. 5th place for Safso, 6th for Infratic, 7th for Meraki, 8th for Formula Kai, 9th for Hayden Gullis, and 10th is that guy Vince.
Look at this though.
Kareem
trying to put Alex under pressure once more, dangling it up the inside. Alex will just hold it for the time being around the outside, but Kareem getting his elbows out, and that just makes Alex Gillen's life a little bit harder.
Absolutely it does, and you know, at this stage it's unlikely that he loses the championship lead. To be able to just remind you of some of the permutations as we head into this one, Alex has currently a 23-point gap ahead of GB68, so realistically the only way that he's losing the lead of the championship here today is if GB wins the race and if Alex finishes in either 15th position or lower outside the points. And so that would be really the only situation in which he does end up losing the lead here today. He's got the DRS back open again. He moves back past Karim 7T, but he's not going to have the position as Karim goes to the inside, but no opportunity to get the move done this time. That being said, though, Karim with a decent line through the corner, it's going to put him right on the back end. Less than a 10th separates him and Alex as they head down the start-finish straight here. You can see no flashing red lights on the back of these cars just yet until they get to the latter end of the straight here. And Benjamin Daly, just ahead of that camera shot, moves up into the lead of the Grand Prix, but further back behind, the championship leader loses position yet again to Karim 7T. And Karim then back up into 3rd place.
Battle of plenty. Looking very, very interesting. Right at the sharp end. Tia McMardick, our Australian ace, acting probably as the joker in this championship pack at the moment, with GB and Lord Gillen the main protagonists to try and pick it up in a week's time. GB has to hope that Alex has some kind of absolute catastrophe, considering the Aston Martin 99% guaranteed not to be here next week. And Ben also needs to hope that the likes of Kareem, the likes of Razn as well, who is down to P12 with that damage, could try and get into the battle as well, into the fray, and just make Gillen's life that little bit harder.
Absolutely. Now then, let's see how this continues to unfold here. This is now becoming a pretty significant train of the leaders here. We've got Ben at the front, now likely to be overtaken by GB, possibly Karim and Alex as well. We have seen drivers at the front of a train lose as many as 4 places on the run here. And look at this then. GB and his hesitancy, his DRS games of staying in behind Ben means that he's just getting attacked by Karim. Karim knows he needs to do it because otherwise he'll be attacked by Alex, and so on and so forth further down the order. It's now GB moving ahead of Ben. It's Alex moving ahead of Ben. And up to ground Sefso. Sefso makes the move up the inside. It's 3 wide between him, Karim, and Fabio. Fabio up into 4th position. This is some great driving by all these cars and drivers in behind here, but they don't need to do it too much, otherwise they'll lose the leading pack. They'll lose the DRS, and as they come down to the first corner, it's 4 wide here. And into 4th position goes Karim. He defends his position. Formula Kai has somehow, through all of that, come up into 5th position, and it's Meraki in 6th, Fabio in 9th, and then Sasso 7th, that guy Vince in 8th place. It's like a pool of piranhas is what Karim is saying. That's a fantastic description. This is great racing in Creator Series.
Pool of piranhas, some might say a swarm of bees, if you remember a week ago. And it's interesting, isn't it? The games that they're playing and they're not paying off. Look at this. The Ferrari of Meraki, I think, is under even more pressure. No, it's Infratic who's tumbling through the field. It's Razin Chai trying to make up for lost time as best as he possibly can. Relegates Infratic down a further spot into P10. Fabio was P4 about 90 seconds ago. That is how quickly things can change. And who would have thunk this? Adam Sanderson arriving on the scene as well, and his lovely squeaky soft compound tyres. He's going to be putting Fabio under even more pressure.
Absolutely, yes. Lots of pressure, but of course Fabio is no stranger to this environment. He's not somebody who has struggled in terms of being able to recover from lost positions in this Grand Prix. He's really got the bit between his teeth here. And Razin, of course, ahead of him has that compromised front wing. We know that. We've got M-Sky-Z now overtaking Adam Sanderson in the middle of the pack there as well. The safety cars have been very useful so far, I'm being told, for fuel consumptions. That's good information to know. The drivers may not be having to do much lifting and coasting and fuel saving now at this stage. It can be flat out racing to the end as Gillen now continues to charge on towards the top 2, but again GB leads ahead of Ben, then it's Alex, and then it's Karim. You can now see here you've got the fight between Safso and Vince. Safso desperately trying to defend his position here. He's been driving very, very well in this Grand Prix, and now the two of them side by side in the run to turn 3. Is it going to be curtains here? Is it going to be tears? It's not going to be a collision, but it could well open the door, and Razin Chai has not been able to capitalize on that side by side moment there between those two drivers. Instead, it is as you were between everybody heading into the beginning of this lap.
It's just so interesting, isn't it? You make one tiny mistake in this train and you leave yourself incredibly vulnerable. Safso was ever so slightly offline through turns 1 and 2. Dagobert seeing an opportunity, seizing his moment, trying his best, but just running out of road around the outside of turn number 4. Razin nipping at the heels of the Aston Martin as he continues to do. And this DRS train is potentially starting to break. It's Safso, after that little mistake, just struggling to cling onto the coattails of the 6 drivers that lie in front with 1.0 seconds now. An opportunity, if Liza Meraki and Kai can get their skates on, to drop that group behind and make their lives much, much calmer.
Yes, indeed. And calm is maybe not necessarily the word that you'd be thinking when you're driving around at the Jeddah Corniche circuit with maximum downforce and everybody trying to go for moves all the time. But that's certainly the position that we find ourselves in here. As it's 3 wide in the final turn between the leaders, and there's all a bit of bumping and barging there. I have a sneaking suspicion that it's going to be Alex getting annoyed with Ben for that one after Ben was in fact tapped by GB on the exit of the corner there. So really it was just a case of dominoes and dodgems going on there. Onto the brakes late now goes Ben Daly, swings back round the outside of GB in the first corner, will run him wide in that turn number 2, but GB keeps his foot in, manages to use that grip available to the drivers here today, and is able to stick with Ben there, makes him really have to work for it. And Alex has lost out big time here. He's all the way down in 5th position as Formula Kai and Karim 7T makes his way back down the order now, does Alex Gillen, and he's now got Meraki in his mirrors as well. Razin Chai is proving to be the cork in the bottle now for those who are hoping to stay a part of this leading pack, because he's got that damaged front wing, remember, on his Alpine car. Safso in 10th place has just been passed then by Infratic, by Fabio. Fabio now will seek to get past Vince and then Razin, and then hope that he's got enough pace in that Ferrari in himself to go chasing on after the rest of the field. And I am actually hearing a little bit of team radio coming through from Fabio's car right now. We'll just play it for you now. There we go, fighting hard. And the animal instincts coming out for Fabio right there. In terms of everybody else, though, we can see at the front, it is the battle continuing to rage between the two Mercedes-powered cars, with GB retaking the lead here from Benjamin Daly. And then, of course, we've got Formula Kai hanging around in the background here. He's hoping to make a move sometime soon. We know what Kai can be like in combat. He can go for the risky moves. And Alex Gillen saying that the engine is a bit warm.
I get the sense his head might be a bit warm as well, because a couple of laps ago nearly squeezed into the barrier by Tim McMarlick when they did go 3 wide into the final corner. You just sense that Alex Gillen is driving like he has got the weight of the world on his shoulders at the moment. He knows the championship position that he will find himself in and just doesn't want to take any undue risks, and that's becoming even harder when you've got Tim McMarlick, who is probably the one person that 100% does not want Alex Gillen to win this championship because of the situation. Ben, the only driver with multiple Creator Series crowns. If Alex Gillen wins this championship, that'll now be an exclusive club of 2, Alex Gillen and Tim McMarlick, who of course are so often entangled and intertwined with each other in the Creator Series back catalogue.
Yes, absolutely. I must say, it does seem that this race with the high wings wildcard, it has maybe re-energized Ben Daly a bit. He has been looking a little bit crestfallen this season. He's been fighting hard, trying to get himself back into that leading fight, but it's never really come together for him. This time, though, could be track, could be car, could be the wings, could be a multitude of various different things, but he is now fighting hard and able to keep with all that is going on here. In terms of the DRS train, has been mentioned in the chat. Well, yes, it is stretching all the way down to just the last 2 in this field. Still running, are not a part of it. Razin has been able to gather some momentum up here and get back onto terms with those cars in front, as there's the look to the inside from both Ben and Formula Kai. Kai gets a great exit here, though, and now the question will remain, does Ben have enough here to get back onto terms with GB? And if he does he then go for the move, or does he stick him behind? He's going for the outside line, brakes late here, will then slot the outside in turn number 1, but not quite far enough alongside, I think, in turn 2 to be able to make it happen, and so he slots back in behind. Kai, though, going for the move to the inside. Kai, don't do it, don't do something really, really silly, and he doesn't this time, but now they're still so close together, and you can just tell that this is a powder keg waiting to go off in this race, all the way from 1st down to 15th. All of our point scoring positions are within DRS of one another. It's not too unlike an F1 esports race, but isn't this a lot more exciting than an F1 esports race?
You don't get any breaks, do you, as a driver in this? 1 minute you're trying to attack the driver in front, the next minute you've got somebody hustling you and trying to take a position off your hands. Alex Gillen's just seemed to recompose himself, maybe cool the engine temperature as well, because he's right back tucked underneath the rear wing of the reigning champion Cream 17 through these middle sector curves with Meraki in hot pursuit as well. Razin Chai doesn't seem too dampened by that front wing damage. Obviously the reduction in downforce is going to make him incredibly speedy in a straight line. It doesn't seem to be costing him too much time in the corners either. I was going to mention how Formula Kai shown really good resilience in this race after picking up damage on lap 1, dropping to the back of the pack. He had got himself in contention, but 1 second off the back of Tim McMarlick and does not have DRS. This is an opportunity now for GB and Ben, if they play this smart, to try and stretch their legs.
Absolutely, and they're both very intelligent racers, of course, remember that. So they will likely have already spotted that. They'll take advantage of it now, as down the start-finish straight, they will have that DRS. Karim will, but Kai will not. But of course, that chasing pack behind him will. So will they have enough overspeed with the DRS to maybe get back within touching distance? Karim doesn't this time, and so it is as you were for the top 2. Kai's mediums may have had it, is what we're being told. They're certainly hurting. That's to not be disputed at all, as you can see now that his pace is dropping away. So is he now going to start becoming that cork in the bottle? What's going to happen when he and Razin meet, for example, where Razin has that damage to the front wing on his Alpine?
Wow, fascinating stuff. And this could be the the sign and the signal that the hard tyres were definitely the compound you wanted to chuck on, because I find it very hard to believe that they won't get to the end of this Grand Prix. Yes, we've still got 15 laps to go, but looking very, very comfortable, the runners in the top three. Kai seemingly really struggling on those mediums. They start to degrade and just fall away. Razin having it out with that Gavins in the battle. A titanic battle, it seems, as they trade blows once, twice and thrice for 7th and 8th. And the Aston Martin getting one over on the Alpine, who is still bogged down by that front wing damage and the reduction of front downforce. Fabio under a little bit of pressure from Skyzy as well.
Absolutely. And, well then, it's interesting you mentioned Titanic battle, because I wonder if there's maybe an iceberg coming. We might be able to drop Kai, is what Karim is saying here, as the top two continue to swap places here. But, of course, Karim has been able to get within DRS range of them again. So they have lost that advantage as the lap has gone on. So it's back on here now between this top group. But, of course, Kai, as has been pointed out, he is fading, and so it might well be that he just starts to tumble down the order. So too, it seems, at least on this lap, is Meraki. Jake has fallen outside of DRS range of the top 5, and so now he's under a little bit of pressure from that guy Vince, from Razin Chai, and from his teammate, of course. So let's see what happens there between them. The question that I want answered, really, at this stage, is what's going to happen with these hard tyres? It's not like Belgium in the real-world Grand Prix, of course, where we had that step change between the medium and the hard that made them a lot harder, relatively speaking, than they would be normally. They are all in sequence in Jeddah. So ultimately, what do we end up seeing happen here with the hards? Do they get overworked as well? Ben saying so hard to drop people with these 50-50 wings. Well, yeah, Ben, that's kind of the point.
Wildcard working out very nicely, making the racing even more intense than it normally would do. I think it is a good question about the hard tyres, because for a lot of these drivers now, you feel they're going to have made their bed. You've got to line it. You've got to try and take these to the end of the Grand Prix. I find it difficult to believe that if you do make a stop, bolt on the soft tyres, they're not a particularly good race tyre. If you chuck on mediums, yes, you might be able to catch the very back of the train, but then you've got to work so hard to fight through the traffic. I just feel like you've got to go to the end of the Grand Prix, unless you get into puncture territory and it becomes a little bit of a brain in a jam jar situation where you're really struggling. GB going to take the lead back as they continue to DRS share. Kai putting pressure back on Karim as well, so maybe still a little bit of life left in those yellow stripe tyres, but I'll be surprised if we see anybody roll the dice, unless, of course, and it is possible, we see that safety car come out.
Absolutely, and when it does come out, again, it's this question of tyres. You know, we know that on the basis of what we're seeing here, Kai is likely going to have to pit again. Between himself and the end of this race, I should say. But as far as everybody else is concerned, you know, do these hards make it to the end? Do they need to stop? If they do, what do they go on to? A lot of drivers will have already used their medium tyres earlier on. If anything, if we don't get any more safety cars and we do need to stop, for the hard tyre runners at least, then I would be backing Benjamin Daly at this stage. He has not used any medium tyres in this race, whereas GB, Alex Gillen, they all have. Kai is on a set of mediums right now. Karim, I'm not entirely certain. They may have been on mediums at the start. They may have been on softs. I don't suspect they were on the hards, but of course, I'm sure somebody will have all that information who'll be able to drag it out of the VOD from earlier on in this race. But it's one of these things then where, yeah, that availability of tyres late on could mean that we know the softs have a lot of pace in them when they're fresh, but they do die off extremely quickly under these conditions.
Going to try and get back in the game, dancing underneath the rear wing of Formula Kai, who in turn is pretty close to the back of Cream 7T as well. Will the McLaren have the straight line speed, the overspeed? I think that's front wing damage, and yes, Adam Sanson facing the wrong direction. Something's gone on, bit of a tete-a-tete between Tukey and Adam Sanson. There's the penalty that goes the way of the Williams driver. Alex Gillen, I don't think he's going to get past Formula Kai into the final corner. Half a front wing on the Mercedes of Adam Sanson. We've got a virtual safety car. No full course caution as yet. Can come out, and there's a Williams. I think it's Tukey again that is stopped in the middle sector.
Yes, they are. Yes, indeed.
Or
and
baiting.
Benjamin Daly pits. Daly pits, as does Formula Kai. And now then, this is the real question. Under VOC, of course, you lose far less time than if you were to pit under normal racing conditions. He goes onto a set of medium tyres for the final 11 laps of this Grand Prix. I think on the basis of how long Kai's tyres have lasted for, that's not a bad shout. But the question now remains, will he have enough pace to catch the rest of the pack and, crucially, start to fight and start to move forwards? He's got, of course, Kai behind him. He was talking earlier on about how difficult it is to drop those cars around him when he's on a set, when he's got these high wings on the car. So let's see now. Both of those drivers, I'm being told, can be flat out until the end. Everyone else is going to have to manage. So whether they'll end up making it to the end without another stop, that's a question to be examined. Of course, remember, we've had wild cards in the past where drivers have driven until the tires have exploded, until they've been able to make a pit stop. Will we see any tire explosions before the end of this one? That's the question. We go back to green once more, and it is GB68 leading Karim ahead of Alex Gillen, Meraki, Dat Guy Vince, Razin Chai, Infratic, MSkyZ, Scotty Designs, by the way, Matt212, Benjamin Daly, Formula Kai, Safso also taking advantage during that period of their virtual safety car. Then Hayden, who I think has done the same thing, Super Doodle Bagel, and then Adam Sanderson and Tuki at the back.
Fascinating stuff. Team Marduk, they've got a lovely bit of clean air to drive into. Let's go get him! That's the sign of a man that is confident in his pace. Hearing as well that it wasn't actually a collision between Tuki and Adam Sanderson. Adam Sanderson dropped it. He's just coming to the pits for what is pit stop number 8 in 39 laps. Tuki driving into the stationary car, given a slightly unfair penalty, I think is the best way to put it. But Gillen on the move. Is he in the groove down the inside into turn 1? It's actually Kareem trying to get past GB, dangling the nose of that Red Bull in a place it's not welcome. He's going to turn it to the outside line now. GB in the title battle. Alex Gillen leading the way. Kareem with slim opportunities to win the championship with a 3-second penalty. Probably going to put pay to it. We retain the formation.
Absolutely. Remember, of course, Karim is one of those drivers who is mathematically in contention. However, they would need to score a massive amount of points over Alex Gillen. Going into this one, I will be able to get this information for you now. They are 45 points behind Alex, and they need to have they need to be 36 points or fewer away by the end of this race. So they need to outscore Alex by a margin which they are not doing currently.
Fascinating stuff. Remember, GB very unlikely to be here next week, so the drivers we really need to focus on are Kareem 70. It is Raz and Chai as well. Formula Kai has a very slim opportunity. The same with Meraki as well, although Jake needing, lightning to strike about 55 times to get himself into contention. Gillen still very menacingly in the rearview mirrors of Kareem 70. Reigning champion versus championship leader. Alex just slotting in behind still. Not a regulation overtaking point, even though we have seen a couple of moves down the inside of 22.
Absolutely we have, and I suspect we might see another move in the not too distant future, and this time for a Mercedes-Benz car, as well as what we're seeing here on screen for a Red Bull racing car and a McLaren. Round the outside is going Alex Gillen here. Karim, of course, has this time penalty. If you're not able to drop cars under these conditions, then it may well be that he ends up losing out here in this one and not able to do anything. And there's contact between the other two championship rivals. Then GB moves back ahead into the lead of the Grand Prix. Gillen now up into second place, and it's going to be nearly 38 laps on the hard tires is what we're being told for these drivers by the end of the race. They're fighting, they're scrapping, they're putting extra stresses and strains on these tires. All the while, you've got Benjamin Daly moving through the order. He said, let's go get them. And Formula Kai has already been dispatched, and he's now got to catch up to the likes of Matt212 and various others as well and move forwards. Are Kai and Ben going to end up getting themselves further up the order as well here? Well, this is all to be decided, of course. Here then is the other Aston. This is Dat Guy Vince. This is very good news for Aston's championship hopes, of course. We said earlier on it was a great drive by the Ferrari pair to be able to get them into contention for... Still good for Aston Martin. Round goes that guy Vince. Just drops it on the curb. He's on very old medium tyres at this stage. And I suspect a bit similar to what we saw for Adam Sanderson. Those tyres just going off and leaving him without grip. The aero can only do so much to give you performance. It's the 4 black round tyres that connect you to the road. And so if they start to lose grip, there's only so much the aero can do. That then is massive problems for that guy Vince. Great news, of course, as I was saying before, for the Ferrari team.
100% good news for Tim Malik as well, because he's going to get a lovely dose of DRS to try and zoom past that events and get inside the top 10. They've got quite a lot of work to do, Ben and Kai, though. They're catching, but not catching at a rate that would tell me that he's probably going to win the Grand Prix. Razin Chai having it out with Meraki, Season 4 champion versus Season 5 champion. Alpine versus Ferrari. He's going to have to go the long way around, but outside becomes inside. Hampered by the front wing damage that he's got. Alex Gillen, no, Tim Martin fastest lap of the Grand Prix. Meraki holds firm in 4th for the time being. Matt212 losing places, battling away with Scotty Designs in the same location. And look at that, on the prowl behind them is Tim Marduk.
Absolutely, and it's Matt 2-on-2 versus Scotty. Matt and Scotty have come to blows on a couple of occasions so far this season, with Scotty making some accusations in the direction of the Alpine driver. Now, whether or not that materializes again, we'll wait and see, but you can see the level of grip that is available to Benjamin Daly here. He goes charging through the S's section here, down into the hairpin now. I suspect he's going to gain quite a bit of time on the brakes here, because again, that tire grip is just going to be so much more significant for him versus for those cars in front. He's going to get DRS on the run up the back straight here. It'll open up any moment now as they come through these S's here. You can see the back end hanging out for the Haas and for the Alpine ahead of him. And meanwhile, further up the order, MSkyZ, of course, a championship contender in the past. He has got Infratic in his sights at the moment as Fabio chases on after Razin Chai. Razin, of course, with that damage to the front wing, he is then able to, of course, get a bit of extra straight line speed, but loses out in the corners. There's quite a lot of them around this circuit, of course, 27 corners around the JEDDAH Corniche circuit, but let's see now what ends up happening in this scrap here. We've got Ben now making his way through. He's trying to contend with Kai as well on his inside. He moves to the inside of Scotty Designs, makes his way past, but he's going to lose the RS now. Down the start-finish straight, Ben is going to be a sitting duck here, and does this give the position now to Formula Kai? The two Hasses come along. It's first Scotty Designs, then it's going to be Formula Kai, but Kai doesn't have the overspeed, doesn't have the ability, and now Scotty Designs, I think, just gets out of the way of the faster moving cars there, whilst maintaining his position ahead of Matt 2-1-2. It's close now between Razin Chai and Meraki in the fight for fourth.
Though 3-second penalty, not good news for the Alpine driver. Equally, the Meraki's 1.1 seconds off the back of Cream, and I hate to say it, but I think Scotty was a little bit baited there in the braking zone of turn number 1. Ben braking very, very late. Scotty trying to match it, then almost just skating off the circuit and losing a place, not just in Mercedes, but his teammate as well. Ben, you would imagine he's going to have to probably catch MSkyZ and Infratic by about lap 46, 47, then pick off a couple of cars a lap. That is a tall, tall order. If we've said it before, we've said it again. If there's one drive that we can have trust that they can do it, it is probably Tim Malik, even though the form necessarily on this game hasn't quite been there.
Exactly, yes, but he needs a large overspeed. I've been told in my ear it is 1.5 seconds per lap is what he needs on the leaders to be in with a chance of winning this Grand Prix. And as much as I love Ben, I'm not sure if that's going to be possible in this state of affairs. We'll, of course, keep an eye on it, but we'll wait and see come the end of this lap and then the end of the next. We've got the fight at the top 3 here right now. Alex Gillen is still at the head of the field, not at the head of the field, sorry, but he's in that lead fight. He's tucked in behind GB at the moment with Karim behind him, and in the background, MSkyZ on the brakes, locks up those front tyres, trying to make something happen here on Razin Chai, but Razin's in 4th place now. He's another of these championship contenders, but if he can't improve up to be a place in front of Alex Gillen, he's not going to be taking any silverware home at the end of this season. Meraki makes his way up into 5th position ahead of MSkyZ, and now Fabio needs to dig deep and do something similar and charge along with his Ferrari teammate up towards the front.
They've got absolutely no pace, fallen off a cliff to some tune because Raz has got past and has put nearly 7 tenths per second between himself and the Ferrari. And they're now 2 seconds off the back of Cream. Music to the ears of the reigning champion, because with that 3-second penalty just increases the likelihood that he can finish on the podium. Ben taking nearly 2 seconds out of this second chasing group in the first sector alone. Ben's going to be arriving on the scene at quite a rate of knots very, very shortly.
Absolutely, and also arriving on the scene shortly is Alex Gillen on the back of GB68. They go through an area of the circuit where usually is a bit kind of hold on to your hats and hope that you get round. In these conditions, with this wing level, you definitely can get round there with your foot planted to the floor. Though that being said, with everything going on here in terms of the degradation of these tyres, is that still a flat-out part of the circuit? That's something which the drivers can tell us, of course, is what their onboards could tell us if we could have a look at them later on. I'm sure that we'll have plenty of clips to review afterwards with Carl in the clip book. More on that a little bit later, of course. Let's now keep an eye on what happens with the front few. We've got, of course, Ben Daly now having just making another move here. He's just been able to get himself back ahead of Formula Kai once again. I wonder if the pair of them are working together, trying to use DRS to get themselves up towards this next group. Again, they need to be gaining at a much quicker rate of knots than they're doing right now. They're getting at good speed, but I'm not sure it's going to be enough for them necessarily at this stage once more. And then when they get there, of course, as the late, great Murray Walker once said, catching is one thing, passing is quite another.
Taking another second and a half out of them in the first sector alone, though. It's just that middle and final sector where the DRS sharing comes into effect. Kai and Ben, you feel like need to work together a little bit more. I think Kai potentially needs to get past on that second DRS straight. Then they just keep swapping, just stems the flow and stops and eradicates the advantage that the likes of MSkyZ, the likes of Infratic have in front where they're in that DRS train. Ben very close to it now, though, 1.0 seconds. I think he is just going to dip under a second by the time we get to the next DRS zone, and that will bring him firmly into the fray.
Certainly will, and it's a shame that we don't get any sort of special side-by-side live views here in F1 Creator Series, because we'd love to look at both of these battles happening at the same time. Does Ben get the DRS? That's the crucial question. He does not. There's no rear wing opening up on that Mercedes. We go back now to the fight to the front. It's Gillen tucked in behind GB, and at this stage, I think that he's deliberately not overtaking. Now, that then means that as far as Karim is concerned, he should try and pounce on this opportunity. Alex Gillen is deliberately sitting in behind here. He's deliberately leaving off the throttle. Karim needs to make something happen, because as it is right now, he's not winning any championship if Gillen finishes ahead of him.
It's definitely not winning the race with that penalty, so Karim realistically with absolutely nothing to lose here. The two drivers in front have it all to lose, especially Alex Gillen having that lead in the championship that he's looking to try and protect with all his might. Kai and Tiamat Malik have caught up to the second group, and Fratk is first on Kai's hit list.
Absolutely, yeah, and that's the notable thing, is that they have swapped positions. So Kai is now the lead driver of those two who decided to pit from the lead under the safety car, or the virtual safety car, I should say. Fabio now is looking slightly to his mirrors. He's aware of the threat. He's not a stupid driver at all. And so now he's got MSkyZ ahead. He's just still within that DRS range. Maraki, however, is not of Razin Chai. Razin himself is also not within DRS range of Karim 7T anymore. So is this again a sign that tires are going off, that the ability to push is fading away from these drivers as DRS opens up once more? Radio from Alex Gillen. He says he's really worried about Karim, and so he should be. Karim there knows, of course, that if he... Oh, Fabio gets a 3-second time penalty for multiple warnings. That is a massive shame for the Ferrari driver. Of course, if not for his collision earlier on, he might even be in this leading fight at the front right now. He and his teammate were having such a fantastic push, but unfortunately on this occasion, he has bottled.
The DRS train was very close to being reformed. Jake's still really struggling for pace, and you can tell because Razin has got back in the DRS of the leading trio. Kai and Ben tried to come through. The Haas gets past MSkyZ. Not good news for the Mercedes behind. He's going to have to follow the Sauber through the first sector where he's got such a significant pace advantage, unless Ben could pull off the unbelievable down into Terminal 4. He's just a little bit too far back. Is he just thereabouts? No, has to sit in behind. Kai can now try and put one over on Maraki. Watch out for Kai. I think he's going to be the biggest threat. Ben's just got a little bit too much to do, losing time in this first sector, but to be fair, Kai's still behind Jake.
He certainly is, and well, if he's able to just stick with him up until the DRS point, then of course at that point he's going to get that extra VMAX, that extra top speed. If he can then slingshot himself past Jake, get himself within DRS range of Razin Chai, then maybe there's a chance for Formula Kai to make his way up towards the front. For Benjamin Daly, he might just be that little bit too far back now. He is in that 8th position, you can see right here. He's tucked up behind SkyZ at the moment. He's got those fresh medium tyres on, but there are just less and less laps available. Now, SkyZ moves out of the way. Very easy move there for Ben. He does not get any fight with that whatsoever, and he moves up into the position behind Formula Kai. It's now the Ferrari of Jake making a mistake, running wide. Kai then moving to get ahead of the Ferrari. He gets his way past. So too now does Benjamin Daly. And now, with the extra tyre grip underneath them, do they have anything left in what will be the last few laps of this Grand Prix to go chasing after that win? Is it going to be possible, or are we instead going to see just that fight at the front? As it is right now, Alex Gillen has overtaken GB68. He's now at the head of this field. Razin Chai has moved ahead of Karim 7T, and now it looks like it's more or less just a fight between these two at the front. How is the chess game going to be played out between Gillen and GB? Of course, if it finishes like this, the championship is not over. Gillen needs to outscore by many more points than just a 5 between first and second place to GB to be champion this race. It's not going to happen this time if it finishes like this. If GB can get ahead, though, of Alex Gillen, then it makes things all the more interesting, all the more tasty as we go into the final round.
Does indeed. And for the pair we're looking at, Kai and Tim Malik, job one done. They've caught the leading group. Yes, there's a bit of a break, 1.1 seconds. Razin trying his best to keep tabs on Gillen and GB in front. The next thing for Kai and Tim Malik, though, they've got to try and pass 4 for Ben, 5 cars in just over 2 laps. That is a very, very tall order. Can they pull it off? They've got the speed. Have they got the racecraft?
Absolutely, that is the question. And do they have the time? We are coming towards the end of, we're in the mid part, but we're coming towards the end of lap 48 of 50. That means after this one, just 2 more tours to go. And then we will be done. At this point, it is looking most likely it's either going to be Alex Gillen or GB68. But of course, it ain't over until it's over. And so let's wait and see what ends up happening here.
Ben through, he's got past Kai, and he's going to the DRS range of Kareem in front. So with 2 laps to go, the 6th of the battling, 2 of them have penalties, but Team Marlick and Formula Kai are in the very DRS train that contains Lord Gillen and GB68. And for Ben now, he's got 1 job, 2 jobs technically on lap 49. Get past the Red Bull of Kareem, get past the Alpine of Raz and Chine. He's left Formula Kai very much in his wake. Swabble's going on behind. The Saubers and Ferraris having it out for the final 4 spots inside the top 10. Half a second separating Gillen and GB. Razin and Kareem, can they hold off Ben for long enough to keep the McLaren Aston Martin safe? Will that be their aim as well? We'll have to wait and see.
Ben is so close to the back of Karim at the moment. He is charging through. Karim's moved to one side. Is that him getting out of the way, or is that him just saying, having a mistake? I think it was more a mistake, much more likely to be a mistake. But look at the grip that is available to Benjamin Daly at this stage now. He's got to get past both of these drivers. He's got to get it done. He has to be in 3rd position at the end of this lap. Otherwise, the chances of him winning this race are next to none. At this point, let's see what ends up happening. He's going to have DRS now on the run down the back straight here as he goes up towards the back of Karim's Red Bull. But Karim's crucially going to have the same thing on Razin. Razin too is going to have it on the back of GB. GB on Alex Gillen as well. The pair of them, this whole group of cars, this quintet of 5 racers at the front is all coming to a crescendo. We come down through the 3rd sector now. DRS available for all these cars you're looking at. As Benjamin Daly moves past. Karim is now right on the back of Razin. As now also moving past Karim is Formula Kai. Formula Kai gets him nailed on the apex there as well. These hard tyres are not lasting for these drivers towards the front, and Razin is now making his move. He has the DRS open, he has the aim, he has the desire, and he's got the speed down into the 1st corner, and it's Razin Chai trying to make it work, as Benjamin Daly gets a move on the inside on GB as well. He's right there with them, as now also Alex Gillen falls back. Razin Chai takes the lead of the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix on the final lap.
Makes Ben's life easy because he only has to overtake 2 cars now. He's around the outside of GB, who gets a bit squirmy, and Ben's through. GB's off the circuit. Kai comes through as well. This is so on now for Team Marlick. He has just got Alex Gillen, his old adversary, his temporary, his permanent sparring partner to deal with. Can Alex Gillen hold on to this? Team Marlick for a 1st win of the season to try and keep up the record of winning in every single Creator Series season. This is one opportunity. Razin Chai, has he just gifted the win to Ben?
This is what we've got to wait and see now. And for the final tour here in Saudi Arabia, it's coming to a fever pitch. One of these 2 drivers is likely to win here today. It's either Alex Gillen, who moves past Razin Chai, or potentially Benjamin Daly. Razin has the penalty. Ben does not. Now, what ends up happening through here, through this high-speed section, it looks as though Ben has been held up. Is it going to end up then working for him? It's now DRS open on the back of the Alpine, on the back of the Mercedes as well. They go charging down towards the final corner. It's now a case that as we come into the final few corners now, final few races side by side, and it's contact between Benjamin Daly and Alex Gillen. Get off the old worn tyres, and it's not going to be enough. It's not going to be enough for Ben Daly. Alex Gillen wins the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. He wins his 1st race as a married man, and he crucially opens out that gap on GB68. 4th place for GB nets him only 16 points. And so, if my calculations are correct, it could well be that Alex Gillen is our champion now. I don't think it's the case, but I'm sure someone better with the maths will be able to figure it out for me.
Well, 5-star Alex Gillen, 5th win of the season, but I can tell you this for free. His bum cheeks were clenched going into that final corner when he saw the Mercedes from an absolute country mile away send it up the inside. There was contact, big contact as well. And we're hearing that it goes to the final round. Gillen, 4 points is all he needs in that final round to take his 2nd Creator Series crown. But Tim Marlick was so committed down the inside into the final corner. There was contact, but Gillen now will not care one bit about it because he picks up that win and now has one hand on his 2nd Creator Series championship.
Absolutely. You got to feel for GB68. He fought too much with the driver who was desperate for that first win of the season and came off second best, ended up fighting him in an area of the circuit he could well have conceded. But of course, as we say, you know, we want to see the fighting. We want to see drivers scrapping with each other. That's what we want to see in Creator Series. We don't want to see drivers just instead having an easy run to the finish, and that is not what we got here today. The wildcard produced great racing. Our drivers produced great racing, and that has been a Saudi Arabian Grand Prix to remember for a long, long time in Creator Series history. There was the question at the start whether this would be a Creator Series classic. I think it can very much be added to the list. So on the top step of the podium then is Alex Gillen, and our cleanest driver today is also Alex Gillen. He gets a bonus point. He needs only 3 points in the final round of the season, and he will be a 2 times Creator Series champion. Now then, let's take a look at what ended up happening in that race for the full final order. In the first place position, it is, of course, Alex Gillen. Then it is Benjamin Daly in second, with Formula Kai rounding out your podium. From fourth down, we're going to rapid fire it through. It's going to be GB68, Razin Chai, Maraki, Safso, Karim7T, M Sky Z, and Faratik. Then it's Matt212, Scotty Designs, by the way, in P12, that guy Vince, Hayden Gullis, Adam Sanderson, Tuki, and then Super Noodle Bagel, Nockwatts, Aloninoba, and Ricky03, all then finishing at the bottom of the order, as I then have all of my hand gestures exposed on stream by some sneaky moves from our producer. How dare you, sir? But that then has been your Saudi Arabian Grand Prix. That was brilliant, lads, I think it's fair to say. In terms of what happens now, I'm going to hand it back over to Alex Heron.
Yeah, I mean, that was quite the incredible Grand Prix, ladies and gentlemen. On that last lap, I stopped writing notes because I was just so enthralled with watching that race finish off. But yeah, Carl, I'm sure you have many a clips there to go through, but do you want to show us some of your favourites going into that final couple of laps, because it was absolute carnage.
Okay, well, strap yourselves in, ladies and gentlemen, because we're in for a roller coaster ride. First of all, 2 contenders for Overtake of the Week, both from the same person. First of all, we have Formula Kai. Coming up towards the final corner, he sees Meraki, he sees the 3 wide moment. Here you're thinking, oh no, Co Brown. Well, they actually survived, good for them, but round the outside of Meraki, that's 1 overtake done, but he just settles into the slipstream of the Scuderia Ferrari, creates a channel between the two of them, as Fabio sort of falls by the wayside. Kai bravely goes up the middle, and there's 4 wide into turn 1, and Kai comes out best. Absolutely outstanding overtake. Well done, you, sir. He also did another one, managing to displace Mr. Alex Gillen. The virtual safety car, though, what inevitably, well, ended up causing Team at Marduk and Formula Kai to send their strategies slightly in an interesting direction, was Adam Sanderson. Ended up on the soft compound tyres. At this point, they're well past their best. They're third hand. They've contracted diseases, but through the left-hander, blazes on the overtake button, and there's only ever one outcome. When you slap on the overtake on worn soft compound tyres, spin into the wall, and you know the rest of what happened from there. Front wing damage, not ideal. But towards the final lap we go. First of all, we have Tim at Marduk versus GB. Razin going for moves. Fortune favours the brave and the bold. He did get P1 out of this. Ben says at this point, I'm here. To be fair to him, at this point he is, but I don't think GB, with all the reaction times in the world he might have, could have reacted to this. Slight front wing damage for the Mercedes man, but in the end, uses the overtake button, tries to get back alongside, can't do it. GB's got way more battery to burn, but GB just opens the door, and Ben, ever the wily old fox, just goes down the inside. Bit of contact, sends GB into a slide, and as a result, not just losing 1 position, but a position to Kai and Karim as well. Now, just to say, as this was actually clipped by Kaiser ALT, thank you, Kaiser, but Ben telegraphed this on lap 46. He did this exact same move on Fabio to much better results, I will admit. So coming up to the final corner, he was the best part of 3.5 tenths behind, just over in fact. Goes for the move. Alex locks up. I mean, you can't dispute that he is there at this point. But is he completely under control? Whatever the case, absolute blockbuster moment. Paramount, both of them got through absolutely fine. More front wing damage, and luckily, no real harm done in the end. Just some absolute sweat. And breathe, ladies and gentlemen. Alex Gillen ends up being the race winner. Ben takes a podium and fastest lap, with Kai not too far behind. How about that? What a humdinger of a Saudi Arabian spectacle.
Well, I mean, it certainly was, and that dive bomb is, well, it's something else from our resident dive bomber, Mr. Tiamat Marduk. But of course, we have our race winner in the interview waiting room. It is Mr. Alex Gillen, so we can drag him in for a quick interview. And it is our race winner, and not only our race winner, our married man in the commentary box. Congratulations, Alex, on not only the race win but also on your marriage. How's it feeling to be a race winner? And that was a very, very interesting Grand Prix.
I'm buzzing. I'm absolutely buzzing with that. That was so hard. People working against me. I did get help on Raz at the end there. Should give him a shout out, overtaking with his penalty, allow me to sit behind and take it. But that was so hard to manage, man. All the strategy and stuff going on. It was really, really, really difficult. That was unbelievably hard, but I will take it. I thought I might get a podium in that one. So to take home the win, I'm very, very happy.
Yeah, it looked like a very difficult race to manage. I mean, in terms of tyre wear as well, I imagine those hards at the end must have been screaming in terms of the wear. And obviously, you had one of your old sparring partners, Ben, catching up to you on those last few laps. And, well, that dive bomb is probably the best. The little we talk about it, the better. But he almost got you in the end. But, yeah, it looked like a very difficult race in terms of tyre wear to manage.
Yeah, agreed on that. The less said about, I'm not going to talk about the last corner because I think it's clear for everyone to see what happened there. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't feel like I was managing it. It was more about managing engine temp, ERS charge, bit of fuel as well, but I had plenty of fuel at the end. And obviously your position in the pack. It was so hard. Everyone being so tactical. It was because it was 50-50 wings. The DRS was so powerful that it was just really, really, really hard. Really, really hard to manage. So position pack was kind of important, but I was also being quite passive today. I didn't want to DNF. I didn't want any silly incidents. We saw people playing some games. I didn't want to get involved with those. I wanted to just go, look, if the podium's all on offer, I'll take a podium. But yeah, like I said, I didn't expect the win, but I will absolutely take it.
Yeah, and obviously with that cleanest driver point as well, you go into the final round of Creator Series with, I think it's 3 points that you need to score in the next round to guarantee yourself world champion. If I'm correct on that, someone can correct me if I'm not.
So it's the final round of sprint?
It is a sprint race, yes. So,
I didn't realise that. Okay.
There's more points up for grabs, obviously, in the sprint race. But you have the commanding lead, and with the fact that GB may not even be here next weekend, you may have the championship secured. But it's never over till it's over, is it?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I feel like I've heard GB's not here next week. I don't really know. I wasn't factoring that in when I was. Well, I didn't realise it was a sprint next week. Actually, I didn't know that up until now. So, but yeah, if GB's not here, obviously it doesn't matter. It's championship anyway. But we're gonna have some fun next week with it, regardless. I guess the sprint will probably start from the back, but I'm gonna be starting from the back. I guess it might be reverse grid. I don't know. If I've got the choice, I'll start from the back next week. Have some fun with it because yeah, it's always good fun coming through.
Yeah, and obviously it's a mystery Grand Prix as well. And in terms of just one last question, in terms of your in terms of the wild card rule, the 50-50 wings, do you think that was something that worked really well today? We obviously saw some fantastic racing between a lot of you guys.
Yeah, it did. It made it interesting for me because I got back dead on when we were meant to be in the lobby, so I didn't have any practice. Quali was my first laps with that setup, so it made it difficult. I would have liked a few more laps, but didn't get home in time. But yeah, in terms of racing, it just makes the DRS so powerful. Obviously, you're so slow at a straight. DRS so powerful, massively increases the fuel burn, massively increases the ERS usage as well, and decreases your recharge. So it does change it quite a lot, actually. And yeah, DRS was just unbelievably powerful today. So that's what I was seeing some games happen there because it was how powerful it was.
Yeah, it certainly was. But, well, thank you very much, Alex. Congratulations on the win, and, of course, congratulations on your marriage as well. And I'm sure we'll speak to you again next time in whatever the track is. It's Mystery Grand Prix.
Thank you so much, guys. Cheers. Catch you next week. Bye.
Cheers. Thank you, Alex. And we have the other two podium sitters in the box as well. We'll bring in Tiamat Marduk into the commentary box now. I'll wait for my producer to drag him in. Ooh. It's going to happen. Yes, there we go. So Ben joins us now for second place. So close to the win there, Ben, in the end. But that strategy to go on those mediums almost worked out brilliantly. But yeah, talk us through that Grand Prix because it looked very interesting from our perspective.
Yeah, it was quite tense would be the words. We always had Alex in P3 trying to put pressure on me and GB. Me and GB had this unspoken rhythm going between us that we were going to control the race. He would sometimes help me out, and I would try not to disrupt his rhythm too much, and we'd try and keep the status quo. I felt like GB was the quickest person in the race, so I felt comfortable just letting him lead. And yeah, we had so many contenders in that race. Razin, GB, Alex, myself, Kai came through. Safso was up there at points. Karim. The 50-50 wings left us like hugely exposed if you're at the head of that train with no one to tow you along. So it just meant that you had to really have your wits about you the whole race. So it was quite exciting. And that final VSC came out. I had so many medium tires left. I thought, let's just go for it. Maybe it was the wrong call in hindsight, quite risky, given that we were in pretty good control, had good pace, but I don't know. I'm not fighting for a championship this season. I backed myself to have good pace on the mediums. I wanted to use them, see what they were like, and I was regretting a lot during that race that I wasn't going to catch, and I just ruined my strat, but it really came alive in those last 3 laps. Yeah, we just fell short. I didn't die wondering at that last corner.
Yeah, I mean, that dive bomb in the last corner was something else, that's for sure. I thought you almost had him there in the end. But yeah, the medium tires just came alive. I think the hards finally started to drop off towards the end. And obviously your pole lap as well was incredible, getting your first pole position, I believe, in 18 months. So it's been a long time since you were last on pole. And of course, there is this looming record going into the final Grand Prix of you've won a race in every season of Creator Series. There's 1 round left to do it, Ben. It's a mystery Grand Prix. I assume you also won't be taking a sprint race victory as that, if you're going to count that. Or if you do, is that the way it's going to work?
Oh, I don't want to rely on technicalities like a sprint race win, which I've never won a sprint for. I've never won a sprint, by the way, because I always start at the back. I'm always a big sweat. So, no, I think a Grand Prix win is a Grand Prix win, and yeah, that's what I'm aiming for. I really wanted it today. I was putting my whole race on getting that win. That's why I was so aggressive in those last 3 laps, particularly the last corner. I wanted it more than nothing else, and I didn't care if I died or not. So it's going to be that same mentality again next week. So Alex, Kai, Karim, Razin, Meraki, everyone better watch out. I'm coming for that win.
Well, I'm sure you can give it a good old go into our final round. But thank you, Ben, for chatting with us. It's been great to chat with you, and I'm sure we'll maybe chat to you next week as well.
Yeah, see you next week, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Ben. And that is, of course, I believe, at the end of our... Well, we got Razin in the box, but if I'm not remembering correctly... Well, I mean, Razin didn't finish on the podium, but you can bring him in if you want to. And we can chat about his race. As we're joined by Razin now, as we're going to have a quick chat with Razin. Razin, because you didn't finish on the podium, but you had a decent race. What was your thoughts on that Grand Prix?
I obviously went for a different strategy compared to others. I went for the hard allocation. So when the final safety car came out, not the final VSC, I opted for another set of hards. It was unfortunate because obviously we won on track. But yeah, we just unfortunately got a bugged penalty from the pit lane. So that kind of ripped any win pretty much from us, which sucks. Otherwise, yeah, I think there was it's fair enough to say Alex probably didn't bow me as hard, but pretty much close enough to get a win today. And obviously we won on track regardless. It's just a shame a bugged penalty cost us that chance, because I think we nailed the strategy in the end and wing damage for a good amount of the stint, so we did well to recover.
Yeah, you certainly did, of course, crossing the line in first place and just losing out with that 3 seconds. You had great battles throughout the grid as well. And in terms of this wildcard as well, we chatted with Gillen about it. What was your thoughts on this 50-50 wildcard? Because it creates some great racing for everyone at home.
Yeah, I agree. I loved it. It was great racing with most of the drivers I had battles with. Most of them kept it clean. Obviously, a few of them were a bit more aggressive or not so clean, as you find. But I will always try to leave the space and try to have a clean battle. Yeah, and it lived great racing. I think my final lap, as you would have seen on the broadcast, again, GB straight, went to pit straight and then switching back Gillen. It just shows the level of racing you can do. You wouldn't be able to pull off like that type of last minute switch back with low wings, kind of. With the high wings, you just have the ability to do it, just allows more racing. So yeah, can't really complain.
Well, hopefully we get more wildcards like that. But thanks, Razin, and maybe we'll speak to you next week in our final round, of course, of this season.
Take care, guys.
Awesome. Thank you, Razin. And we're just going to go quickly to our standings here to see. They have been updated, and ladies and gentlemen, this is what the standings look like. It is Alex Gillen who still leads from GB68 on 175 points, with Razin Shai in third on 156. Now, if I am correct, if GB is not racing next weekend, Alex Gillen will be crowned Creator Series World Champion. But we don't know if GB not racing. We've heard from a lot of people that he's not, but, you know, plans can change, things can happen. If his flight lands on time, we're relying on Air Force, ladies and gentlemen, for him to land on time at the airport. It's probably not going to happen, but hopefully, for our sake here in the commentary box, it does. But if we have a look at the constructor standings updated, producer, they are. He's so good, isn't he? He's good at his job. As you can see, McLaren on 260 points, and then in second place is Alpine on 249, followed by Ferrari on 238, then Aston Martin on 236, and then Red Bull on 231. So the constructor standings are all to play for going into the final race, and even the last place position between Sauber and Williams, who will finish 10th out of those two. But we'll bring the rest of the four back in to call an end to what has been a fantastic Creator Series race. Carl, we'll start with you over in Clipbook Corner. You've had one of the busiest afternoons you've ever had in Clipbook Corner with the amount of stuff that's going on, but that was a fantastic race.
Oh, I couldn't agree more with you. The wildcard was an absolute triumph, honestly. Giving them that level aerodynamic playing field, giving them ability to keep on following each other closely, no matter what corner it was. Some of the speeds, particularly from Ben and Kai, towards the end of that race, on the medium tyres, the entry speed was absolutely ridiculous. It was enthralling to watch them. It was gripping to see how much time they made up, particularly in the first sector. That was beautiful. Viva Saudi Arabia. That was complete chaos. I enjoyed every single minute of it. Albeit, I nearly had a coroner trying to farm clips. But that I'll sort that out another time. It was a fun race, and I think everybody beside me can attest to that as well.
Yeah, it was a brilliant race. Tom, of course, you were commentating basically the whole action alongside Mr. Gillen. Was there any moments that you particularly enjoyed from that Grand Prix that you would, go back and watch later? Of course, there will be the ability to watch this later, and I recommend you certainly do if you've missed all of it. But what sort of your highlights from that one, Tom?
It's hard to pinpoint one thing. I think it's just everybody left absolutely everything on the table, whether that was Ben and Kai coming back through, trying to chase down the leaders. Ben got very close, launching into the final corner, or whether it was the battle we had in the early stages, the big crash we had as well that sort of started the safety car and started the different strategies that we started to see with the two Ferraris getting a little bit too close for comfort, taking Lolly with them as well. So many different things that you can watch back. It was probably one of, if not the most enthralling, exciting, and probably unpredictable races we've had this season.
It certainly was. And Daniel, just coming to you finally, of course, it's not only a fact that I think the wildcard parade effort to the amazing racing we had, that different strategy we had, of course, with two drivers going on the mediums right at the end and being able to pull up closer to that front car. It makes more of a race when you have a two-stop or maybe even a three-stop strategy.
Yeah, and I mean we've got to thank the interesting tyre choices of Adam Sanderson for that one, really. Given that he had his million pit stops in the race and decided that softs to the end from about halfway through was the right decision. And so with those dying off, he had that spin that then led to our virtual safety car. That's then what led to the scrap. I think we still would have had a very good scrap regardless. I think if we just had Ben and Kai on hards to the not Kai, he would have been on mediums. So probably would have died. But with those guys to the end, I think we still would have had a very good racing. But it's a W wildcard. It's a fantastic bit of racing that we've seen here today. I mentioned it earlier on, but I'll go ahead and mention it again. But it's one of those things which I'm a big supporter of in racing. You look at Formula One in the 80s, for example, it was the first philosophy, well, we've got 1,200 horsepower engines, so we can put as much downforce on as we like. We'll just bash through all the drag. It'll be absolutely fine. And then that's where you see some of Formula One's golden era in terms of racing and overtaking, things like that. So it's not the be-all, end-all. And Monaco, if you've got 50-50 wings, you're not going to see great racing. That's just the fact of it. But I think after that today, with the divergent strategy that we had, with the element of the wings not suiting the location, I think that's ultimately what it's got to be. You've got to go to places like Monza with 50-50 wings. You've got to go to places like Monaco with 0-0 wings. That's really how we're going to create something that is very, very unpredictable, shall we say.
Yeah, and if Lord Gareth is listening, we want that wildcard back at some point during possibly Creator Series next season. But as we will quickly end and go through everyone again, Carl, where can the lovely people find you if they want to find more information about what you do?
I'll tell you where you can't find me, the outer reaches of Lithuania. You won't find me there. But where you will find me, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very distinctive name, Carl Paranik. If you type that in most social medias, you'll probably find me there. Just a quick thing from me before we finish. Gent, it's been an absolute pleasure to do this with you. Big thank you to Creator Series. You lot are legends. Follow the socials. !SRS. Use the code. I'm ordering you.
Well, there you go. You've been ordered by Carl, and he is a Grand Prix winner, let's not forget. So, Tom, where can the lovely people find you if they want to know more about what you do?
First of all, Carl, you need to make sure you tell everyone what the code is. F1CS. Use that at checkout, 5% off. TNO6 on Twitter if you're interested after this.
And of course, Mr. Daniel Gilligan, a known man in the F1 community. But if maybe they don't know you, where can they find you?
Well, this is the thing. To some, I may be a mystery. To others, I might be a pain in the backside. I could be all things to all people. I tell you what, I'm also not in Lithuania. I'm also definitely not rummaging through your freezer right now trying to steal your food. But in terms of where you can find me, you can find me on @DAGilligan on Instagram. And if you're interested, on Twitch, there might be something happening in the relatively near future on twitch.tv/Daniel Gilligan. If you like league racing, if you like F1 cars, but maybe on a slightly different scale that you're used to, that might be the place to go.
Ooh, keeping us a bit interested there for Mr. Gilligan. If you want to find me, you can find me at Definitely10 on pretty much any social media. I am trying to get back into Twitch streaming, but I haven't done it for about 3 months. And of course, we'd like to thank our lovely producer, Mr. TK, Mr. Tonky Kong, Mr. Thrift, whatever King. He has about 1 million names.
Gandalf.
Gandalf. You can find him pretty much anywhere on social media. TK, what's your social media? Again, tell me again. They call me TK. That's where you can find it. And of course, as mentioned earlier, please follow Creator Series on all of the socials you see above our head. But for now, after a thrilling Saudi Arabian Grand Prix under the lights, we have one more round to finish. Gillen is likely your world champion, but it can all change going to the final round. From all of us here at Creator Series, it's good night and see you next time.